general.
Let's begin with the ongoing pandemic that has cost our country so much. Senator Harris, the coronavirus is not under control. Over the past week, Johns Hopkins reports that 39 states have had more COVID cases over the past 7 days than in the week before. 9 states have set new records.
That's a bungle.
Oopsie.
Even if a vaccine is released soon, the next administration will face hard choices. What would a Biden administration do in January and February?
This is a great question because I do not know the answer to it.
Would you impose new lockdowns
Honestly, yes,
for businesses and schools and hotspots? A federal mandate to wear masks?
Give her suggestions. Let her think of something.
To respond
Is this a multiple choice question?
Thank you, Susan. Well, the American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country. And here are the facts. 210,000 dead people in our country in just the last several months.
I gotta pull up that shrunken head guy.
Over 7 million people who have contracted this disease. 1 in 5 businesses closed. We're looking at frontline workers who have been treated like sacrificial workers.
We know how bad it is. Answer the damn question.
We are looking at over 30 million people who in the last several months had to file for unemployment. And here's the thing. On January 28th, the vice president and the president were informed about the nature of this pandemic. They were informed that it's lethal in consequence, that it is airborne, that it will affect young people, and that it would be contracted because it is airborne. And they knew what was happening, and they didn't tell you. Can you imagine if you knew on January 28th, as opposed to March 13th, what they knew, what you might have done to prepare?
How many guns you would have purchased?
The president said
how many brides you would have brought to your compound?
The seriousness of it. The president said, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't. And in spite of all of that, today they still don't have a plan. 2 minutes and she's not said what they're going to do.
Yes, what are you going to do?
They still don't have a plan. Well, Joe Biden does.
Tell me.
Our plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, for testing, for administration of the vaccine, and making sure that it will be free for all. That is the plan that Joe Biden has and that I have, knowing that we have to get a hold of what has been going on.
What would they disagree with about on that anything?
And Joe Biden is the best leader to do that. And frankly, this administration has forfeited
Sounds like she's going to cry, kind of.
Based on this.
Thank you,
yeah,
Senator.
But what are you going to do?
Energy.
Vice President Pence, more than 210,000 Americans have died of COVID-19 since February.
Oh, shit, my bad.
The U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population is higher than that of almost every other wealthy nation.
You're really right, Matt. I've got the shrunken head guy on the screen right now, and he does look a lot like
Mike Pence.
You head the administration's coronavirus task force. Why is the U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population
it's going to be so funny watching
higher
him
than that of almost every other wealthy country?
Well, first of all, it's not.
You have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Susan, thank you. And I want to thank the Commission and the University of Utah for hosting this event. And Senator Harris, it's a privilege to be on the stage.
Oh, see, he's being all gracious to contrast with Trump.
The nation has gone through a very challenging time this year. But I want the American people to know that from the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first.
Absolutely,
Before
no question.
There were more than 5 cases in the United States, all people who had returned from China. President Donald Trump did what no other American president had ever done.
Considering that the main New York
And that
spread
was
was caused by Europe.
All travel from China, the second
Do a
largest
thing.
economy
Did not
in
matter.
the world. Now, Senator Joe Biden opposed that decision.
God, he sounds like shit.
He said it was xenophobic.
Oh my God, this is boringer than I thought it would be. These
But
guys
I
suck.
can tell you,
No,
led
dude,
the White
it
House
sucks. This is
coronavirus
where-
task force. That decision
man.
alone by President
Compared to the last
invaluable
one, just
time to stand up
the
the greatest
contrast,
national
it
mobilization
makes it
since
equally
World
as
War
insane.
II. And I believe it saved hundreds
They're
of
trying
thousands
so
of
hard to
American
be
lives.
normal.
Because with that time, we were
I
able to
suck
do
so
that
much,
test on
man.
more than 115 million
Normal
tests have been
debates
done
with
today.
normal candidates being
We were
normal.
able to see
Nothing
the
to see
delivery
here with
of
our political system. It's certainly
billions
not
of
more
like-
fun
I
stuff.
just
It's
like-
a
doctors and nurses
spectacle.
had the resources support they needed.
I just like felt
And
the
we
light go out
began
of my eyes
really
because
before
like
the
they're
month
just
of
playing it
February
safe.
was out to develop a
Like,
vaccine
Literally
and to
because
develop
Pence has
medicines
to
and
do it to play
therapeutics and
the
saving
foil to
lives
Trump,
all
I
along
guess,
the
or
way.
whatever, like the
Under
contrast.
President Trump's
And
leadership,
Kamala, because
Operation Warp
like
Speed, we believe
like
will have
the motto of the Biden
literally tens
campaign
of
right now
millions
is
of
do
doses
no
of
harm.
vaccine before the end
Yeah,
of
they're
this
just
year.
trying to play. They're
The
playing
reality
prevent
is, when you look
defense,
at the
just like
Biden
Hillary
plan, it
did.
reads an awful lot.
They might still win
like what
regardless.
President Trump and
But,
I
No,
have
and like they're
definitely
better
every
positioned to
step
do
of the
it.
way.
It's
No,
just
if
like
you're going to play
for
prevent, this was the
When
year,
I look at
not,
their
not in
plan, it talks
2016,
about
when you were
advancing
effectively
I
running
just
as an
think
incumbent.
that-
do
and
PPE,
you needed
developing a
to accept the
vaccine.
fact that you were going to be have to work to
looks
get
a little bit like
undecided, which they
plagiarism.
didn't do.
Which is something
I
Joe
wanna
Biden
shout
is a
out-
little
we're the
bit about.
victim.
I want to shout out
People know that
effing ineffable
this is a
in the
president
chat
who has
for
put
calling Mike Pence
America first, and
fat
American
slender man.
people, I believe with my heart, can be proud of the sacrifices
That's good.
they
That's
have
really
made.
good.
It's saved
Thank you,
countless
Mr.
American
Pence.
lives.
Senator Harris, would you like to respond?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Vice
Whatever the
President.
vice
Thank you,
president
Mr.
is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked.
I mean, that's
Okay,
it.
so what are you going to
Over
do?
210,000 dead bodies in our country.
What are you going to do?
American lives
What are you going to do?
that have been lost, families
Do
that are
it.
grieving.
Do something. What's
that
going to happen in
loss.
January?
It's just,
And you know,
as long as it's not what he did,
The
that's
vice
good
president
enough.
is the head of the task force
He is.
and knew
He fucked
on
up.
January 28th. how
You'd be
serious
the head
this
of the
was.
new
And then
task force.
Thanks to Bob Woodward,
Yeah.
we learned
It's
that they
so
knew
funny
about
imagining,
it. And
like-
then when that was exposed, the vice president said, when asked, well, why didn't y'all tell anybody? He said, because the president wanted people to remain calm.
Calm.
Well, let's get
So
about
but Susan, this is important.
Susan,
And I
have
want to
to
add,
weigh
but
in
if,
here.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
No,
I'm
Susan.
speaking.
Oh, is he doing it?
Yeah, you
So
can
I-
have
I-
50
Is he
more
getting-
seconds, and then
Oh,
we'll give
he's-
the vice
he-
president a
Thank you.
chance
You
to
can't,
I wanna
I
ask
guess,
you,
what,
American
did they like tell
How
what,
calm
what,
were
why,
you when
why
you
are
were
they
panicked
doing,
about
why,
where you were
what?
going to get your next roll of toilet paper? How calm were you when your kids were sent home from school and you didn't know when they could go back?
Is
How
she
calm
addressing
were
the
you
moderator?
Thank
when
you,
your
Senator.
children
He's trying to
couldn't
impress
see your
Daddy
parents
Trump, you
because you were
pathetic
afraid they
loser.
could kill them?
You little
Let's give
worm,
Vice
he's trying
President
to be
Pence
the
a chance
big
to respond.
alpha,
Vice
and he
President,
just
you
got
have 1
shut
minute,
down by
please.
two
There's not a day
women.
gone by that I haven't
What a
thought of every American
loser.
family that's lost a loved one. And I want all of you to know that you'll always be in our hearts and in our prayers.
God,
When you see
Robert
what the
Patrick
American
in The
people have done
Terminator
over
as a
these last 8
politician.
months hasn't
Yes.
worked. That's a great disservice to the sacrifices the American people have made.
I'm referring
The
to
reality,
DC
if I may
Comics as
finish
villain
that.
president.
The reality is, Dr. Fauci said
If,
everything that he told the president in the Oval Office, the president told the American people.
In the Marvel
President
movies, they
Trump, I
have
will
Red
tell you,
Skull.
has boundless confidence in the American people, and he
Pence
always
is
spoke
White
with
Skull.
confidence that we'd get through this together. But when you say it hasn't worked, when Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and our medical experts
some
came to
people are
us in the
trying to
second
say that
week
he
of
has like
March,
red eyes or
they
whatever,
said
and
if
I'm
the
just not
president
seeing
didn't
it.
take the unprecedented step of shutting down roughly half of the American economy, that we could lose 2.2 million Americans. And that's the reality.
Thank you.
They also
Thank you,
said
Vice
to us, if we
President
did everything right, Susan, we could still lose more than 200,000 Americans.
Vice
Now,
President,
one
That was
life
exactly the
lost
number
is
they
too
said.
many, Susan.
Best case scenario
But
was
the American
200,000.
people,
They told
I
us
believe,
that.
deserve credit for the sacrifices that they have made, putting the health of their family and their neighbors first, our doctors, our nurses, our first
Thank you, Vice
responders.
President Pence.
And I'm going to speak up on behalf of what the American people have done.
It's
Vice
so
President Pence, you were
like
in the front row.
He doesn't care. He's going to say that the American people are great. He doesn't care who
for
gets
senior
offended by
administration
that.
congressional officials. No social distancing.
Oh, now here we
Few
go.
masks, and
Yeah.
now a cluster of coronavirus cases among those who were there. How can you expect Americans to follow the administration's safety guidelines to protect themselves from COVID
It's a good question.
when you
a
at the
good question.
White House have not been doing so?
Well, the American people have demonstrated over the last 8 months that when given the facts, they're willing to put the health of their families and their neighbors and
Not
people they
us.
don't
We
even
won't
know
do that.
first.
We won't do that. The American people.
White House.
We're rich. We don't have to do that.
In the American people.
Yeah, rules are different for
and their
us. We don't have
ability
any.
to take that information and put it into practice. In the height of the epidemic, when we were losing a
Still
heartbreaking
happening,
number of
dude.
2,500 Americans a day.
See, he's off message
surged
here. He's saying
resources
that
to
it was
New Jersey,
bad and
New
the
York, and
the
Lawrence,
thing
and Detroit.
was
We
killing
told
too
the
many
American
people.
people what
I thought the
needed to be done,
official
and the American
Trump
people
administration
made the
line was, "It's
sacrifice.
fine.
When
It's
the
not that
outbreak in
bad.
the Sun Belt happened
Don't talk
this
about how
summer,
bad it
again,
is."
Americans stepped forward. But the reality is the work of the President of the United States goes on. A vacancy on the Supreme Court of the United States
continues to be
has
watched.
come upon us, and the president introduced Judge Amy Coney
Yes,
Barrett.
thank you, Vice President.
He's like
yes,
literally
pivot to the Supreme
not
Court.
addressing it at all. It's really
Yeah,
funny.
great deal of speculation
Everyone
about
loves
it.
this shit.
He's
Everyone
like,
Karen
it's
and I
so
were
funny.
there and
He's
honored to
like,
be there.
I give him a lot of
Many of the
credit for
people
just
who were at that
completely
event,
not
Susan,
answering the
actually were
question.
tested for
Yes.
coronavirus.
absolutely nothing. Just
And
like,
it was an
hey,
outdoor
give it up
event.
for the American
All of
people.
our
What
scientists
a
were
good group of
routinely
folks.
advised.
Let's
The
get all of
difference here
America
is
in one of those
President Trump
lines you
and I
do at the end of a
trust the
little league
American
baseball
people
game, and we'll all give
to
each
make
other high
choices in the
fives.
best interest
Yeah,
of
folks.
their health.
Everyone
Joe
spit in each
Biden,
other's mouths.
Kamala
So
Harris
I guess
consistently
So his
talk
answer
about mandates, and not just
is
mandates
that
with
the Trump
coronavirus,
administration's
but a government
is
takeover
trusting
of health
people.
Thank you.
That's what they
Thank you
do.
very
Green
We
New
trust
Deal,
people.
all
Democrats
government
don't want to
including
trust
freedom
people.
and
Iconic
respecting
toddler in
freedom
charge
of
of that
the
administration.
Let's talk about respecting the American people.
Did you say
You
iconic
respect the American
toddler?
people when you tell them the
Ooh,
truth.
ooh, let's
You
talk
respect
about.
the American people when you have the courage
Which we've
to be a
always
leader
done.
speaking of those things that you may not want people to hear, but they need to hear so they can protect themselves. But this administration stood on information that if you had as a parent, if you had as a worker, knowing you didn't have enough money saved up, and now you're
As a
standing in a
worker.
food line because
Shout
of
out to
the
Sean KB.
ineptitude of an administration that was unwilling to speak the truth to the American people. So let's talk about caring about the American people. The American people have had to sacrifice far too much because of the incompetence of this administration. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked
No,
about
Vice
It is
President
asking too much of the people.
Look-
That they would not be equipped with the information they need to help themselves to protect
Susan,
their
the
parents
President-
and
No,
their
I'm sorry.
children.
Kamala Harris, Senator
God,
Harris.
Pence
I'm
trying
sorry.
to
fine, I'm
dump like
Kamala.
Bigfoot
No,
here.
Senator
and
Harris to me.
No,
I'd
just
like to
can't
get back
do
to
it.
happen at all.
Dr. Anthony Fauci and other experts say
Pathetic.
that most of the people
He's-
who
you
can't
gotta-
be vaccinated need to be
He
vaccinated.
should have corona.
But half
He
of
needs some of that
Americans now
Trump
say they
juice.
wouldn't
He
take
needs
the
that Trump
vaccine.
strain.
He's too used to asking mother if he can have a
If the
second
Trump
scoop
administration
of
approves
vanilla
a
ice
vaccine
cream.
before or after the
Yeah,
election,
this is, yeah.
should Americans
Susan, next time
take it
I was
and
told
educate?
that I would receive a piece.
If the public health
excuse me,
Oh,
professionals,
this is such a
Dr.
this is such a
Fauci,
bullshit.
if
This is such a
the
stupid
doctors
fucking
tell us that
question.
we should take
What
it,
a
I'll be the
dumb
first in line to
question.
take it. Absolutely.
About
But if
a
Donald Trump
vaccine
tells us
come
that
like
we
would
should
you
take it,
take a
I'm taking it.
hypothetical vaccine in a
Vice
hypothetical
President
next
Pence, there have been a lot of
3-week period? Dog
repercussions
shit
from
question.
this
What the fuck?
pandemic.
How do you even
In
Oh, no,
recent
that's
days,
so
the
dumb.
president's diagnosis
That's-
of
that
COVID
is
They're running
like-
for fucking
underscored the
president, vice
importance
president. Who gives a
of the
shit? It's
job
not like,
that you
what would
hold
you do?
in
Like,
Yes,
if you eat
all
a
That's
right,
our second
so-
topic tonight. It's the
Vice
role
President
of the
Pence,
vice
are you
president.
familiar with the baby Hitler experiment?
One of you
It's
will
a
make
thought
history on
experiment
January
that
20th. You will be the
so,
vice
Would you give
president
baby
to
Hitler
the
corona?
oldest
Would you get
president the United States
coronavirus
has ever
intentionally
had.
in order to give
Donald
it to baby
Trump will
Hitler?
be 74
Oh, I'm sorry.
years old on
I'm
Inauguration
sorry.
Day.
I
Joe
thought
Biden will be
the job of the
78 years
president
old.
meant being
That
prepared
already
to
has
be
raised
asked if you would
concerns
kill
among some
baby
voters,
Hitler with
concerns that have
coronavirus.
been sharpened by President Trump's hospitalization in recent days.
I would inject the baby Hitler with
Vice
coronavirus.
President Pence, have you had
Totally.
a conversation or reached
No,
an
I would
agreement
kill
give the
so
baby.
many-
with President
you would
Trump
kill so many
about
Germans.
safeguards or procedures when
I
it
would
comes
give
to
Hitler
the issue of presidential
Sweet.
disability? And if
I would
not,
smoke out baby
do you
Hitler.
think you
And
should
then
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't want
2
to do
minutes
the
without
Holocaust.
interruption?
I would give him
Susan,
I would
thank
give
you,
him
although I
free
would like to go
education
back.
to art school.
I think we need to move on.
Interesting.
to
Well,
the
thank
issue
you,
of
but I would like to
vice
go back.
presidency.
As a Jew, I
Because
would give him fetal
The
alcohol
reality is that
syndrome.
we're going to have a vaccine, Senator, in record
So, I
time.
mean, did you be
We
his
have
mother?
unheard of
You
time.
gestate him and just like be housing
We have
vodka?
5 companies.
Quantum
If you were
leap
baby
into,
Hitler's mother, would you drink during the
Hitler's
pregnancy?
mom
You're
and
right
just,
now
like,
producing tens of
chug
millions of
schnapps?
So the fact that you continue to
Hello?
undermine public confidence
Oh,
in the
hello.
He's whining.
vaccine,
He's whining again.
Is this
the vaccine
working?
emerges
Yeah, I can
during
hear
the
you.
Trump
It's working.
administration, I think
Okay, it was
is
telling me to
unconscionable.
fuck off a little bit ago.
Senator, I just ask you,
Hello,
stop
Amber is
playing
on the stream.
politics with people's lives.
Stop playing politics.
The reality
Please
is
stop
that
playing
we will
politics.
have a
Whiny
vaccine, we
little
believe,
bitch.
before the end of this
I
year.
told you that's
it
it's
heating
all.
up?
The
It's
capacity to
it's
say
not really.
countless
For this to
Americans
heat
there's
up,
no
like
heat up. He's just
for this
Your
to heat up,
continuous
like there'd have to be a
undermining
bomb dropped on the
of
venue.
confidence in the vaccine is just it's just unacceptable. And let me also say, you know, the reality is when you talk about
Sounds like honestly
about
they set it
failure
up.
in
She
this
asked the dumb
administration.
question, Harris answered it,
We
and now
actually
he's
do know
just
what failure
running
looks
with
like
this
in
idea that she's undermining
It was 2009.
public
Swine
health.
flu arrived in the United States.
Swine flu, hell
Thankfully,
yes.
it was
Bring
ended
back
up
swine flu.
not being as lethal.
This is Rufus.
Dude,
That's
they
the
bring up
coronavirus.
swine flu
That's
like it was some
Rufus?
But before the end of the
catastrophe,
year,
and like people barely remember
when
it.
Joe Biden was vice
Hello, Rufus.
I don't remember swine
It was
flu.
Not 7.5
swine flu
million
was
people
apparently
contracted
really
swine flu.
deadly but like nobody got it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. But that's like part of what makes
If the
like
swine flu had been
COVID-19
as
so
lethal as
special
the
is that like
coronavirus, in
it's not deadly
2009,
enough that like
when
it
Joe
actually
Biden
can
was
have a
vice
high
president,
transmission
we
rate.
would've
Because if a
lost
thing
2
is too
million
deadly,
American lives.
then like
His own
people
chief of staff, Ron
then it's not that
Klain,
good at
would
spreading
say
around.
last
That's
year
how Ebola works. If anybody has ever
pure luck
read The Hot Zone.
they did, quote,
Oh,
everything
do you remember that
possible
movie?
wrong.
I don't think I read the
we
movie,
learned
but I was
from that.
assigned that in high school
They
biology.
left the strategic national
I'm
stockpile
not sure if the
empty.
movie itself
They
was
left an empty and
Outbreak?
hollow
was
plan, but
based
we
off the
still
hot
learned
zone,
from
but
it.
yeah,
And I
Outbreak
think
was
the
like
American
they used
people, and I'll say again,
they
can be
used
Vice
the
President
hot
Pence,
zone
what
as
what
like
we have
a
done, and Senator
like the
Pence
model
was like
example
of
of
undermining
this.
confidence in a
One
vaccine.
of those development
Senator
hell
Harris, let
deals
me
where it
ask
was
you the same
originally
question
supposed
that
to
I
be an
asked
adaptation
Vice
of
President
outbreak,
Pence,
and then
which
over
is,
time people were
have
like,
you
yeah,
had a
but this isn't cool
conversation or
enough.
reached
There
an
isn't high enough
agreement with Vice
stakes, and
President
so they had to
Right.
make it
about
into nuking the
safeguards or
entire town.
procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential
Incinerate Cedar
disability?
Creek!
And if
You
not,
incinerate the
and if you
serum!
win the election next month, do you think you should? You have 2
Okay, so-
minutes uninterrupted.
So
let
I
me
asked
tell you,
before this
first of
started how
all,
much of this would be
the day I
about
got
Corona.
the
And so
call
far we're
from
22 minutes
Joe
in.
Biden,
It's
it
basically
was
all
actually a
about
Zoom
Corona.
call,
Yeah.
asking
I was
me
hoping
to
she would
serve
come
with
out
him
in
on
like a
this ticket.
beekeeper's
Was
outfit or
probably one of the
something.
most memorable days of my life.
Like
I love how they
a
think that
burqa or
saying
the Pope cube.
I thought about
I
my
love
mother,
how they now think that like
who
specifying like
came
it was
to
a
the
Zoom
United
call
States
by
at
the
the
way
age of
is like a new
19,
humanizing detail to
gave
like
birth
work
to me at the
in.
age of 25.
That's
Listen,
so
can I ask you a
awful.
Hospital in
question?
Oakland,
What do you do
California.
if the president's brain
And,
just
the
stops
thought
working?
that I'd be sitting here right
I
now.
was
It just
love when they
reminds me
have
of like
that.
it reminds me of like
Sure.
reading a
Must
Stephen
be
King
looking down
book
on us.
because Stephen King is so obsessed
You know,
with like name
Joe
brands
and I
and
were
stuff like
raised
that.
in a very similar way. We were raised
Amber,
with
I have to ask you
values
this
that are
because
about
it
hard
is
work,
some of the very rare female
about
fan to female
the value
Chapo
and the
interaction.
dignity of public
A
service,
person in the chat
and
asks,
about
"Where
the
did you get that
importance of
top?"
fighting
It's
for
very
the
cute.
dignity of all people. And I
It's
think
a
Joe
dress.
asked me to serve with
It's
him
from
because, you know, I have a career that
anthropology or
included
something,
being
but I
elected
got
the
it
first
off of
woman district attorney
Poshmark
of San
for
Francisco,
cheaper because it's
where
used. Hang
I
on.
created models of innovation
Excellent.
for
Ooh,
law enforcement
lovely.
in terms of reform of the criminal justice system. I was elected the first woman of
Full
color
looks,
and black woman
full
to be
drip.
elected Attorney General of the state of California, where I ran
Amber
the
is
second
serving
largest
Luke's.
Department of Justice in the United
Luke's.
States, second only to the United States Department of Justice. And there I
As is
Yeah,
took
this
Kamala
is
Harris,
everything from
serving Luke's
transnational criminal
and
organizations to the big banks that were
in
taking
prosecuting
advantage of homeowners,
crooks.
to for-profit colleges that were taking advantage of veterans. And then, of course,
She's talking
now I
about
serve in the United
prosecuting
States Senate as
banks
only the
that
second black woman
ripped off
ever elected
homeowners.
to the
I know of
United
one
States Senate. I
banker
serve on
who
the
ripped
Senate
off homeowners
Intelligence
she
Committee,
didn't
where I've been
prosecute. He's
regular
currently the
receipt
Treasury
of
Secretary.
classified information
Jim,
about
it's
threats to our nation and hotspots around the world. I've traveled the world. I've met with our soldiers in war
God,
zones.
she's
She's
low
just giving
energy.
the
And
resume
I think
here.
Joe has asked
She's
me to
basically
serve with
saying,
him
"Hey,
because
yes,
he
I am
knows
aware
we
that
share
that
we share
Joe
a
Biden's
purpose,
brain
which
is
about
being held
lifting up the
together
American people.
by
And
like
after the 4
spit,
years that we
chewing
have
gum,
seen
and
Donald Trump
memories of
unifying
50
our
sock
country
hops.
around
But
I
I will-
might have to become president.
But
anyway.
I
Thank you,
will
Senator
will
Harris.
happily
neither
allow Guantanamo Bay
President
to
Trump nor Vice
continue
President Biden has released
waterboarding
the sort of
15-year-old
detailed
autistic kids
health
from
information
Pakistan.
that had become the modern norm until the 2016 election. And in recent days, President Trump's doctors have given misleading
See,
answers.
I
or
really,
refused to answer
I
basic
missed
questions
the
about his
first
health. And my
part
question to each
of
of you in turn
the
is,
last
is
debate,
this information
which meant that I
voters
missed
deserve
I
to
missed
know?
the
Vice
like high
President,
energy
would you answer
Joe
first?
because it wore off
Susan, thank
basically
you.
by the time his go-go juice I think was
He
sort of
let
like
me-
winding
started off,
down
no,
by
he
the
started
time.
off very
On behalf of
low,
the
and he
President
started off very
and the
confused
First
and
Lady,
low energy. He
how
got
moved
better
we
as he
are
went on, and then he tailed off.
by
It
the
was like
outpouring of
it was like a
prayers and
bell-shaped
concern
energy thing. He
for
started
the
off sort of
president.
disoriented,
And I do
and
believe
he
it's
kept
in
getting
I missed the
cut off.
prayers
And then he got a little bit of
concern that
energy,
ushered
and then he
forth for every
dropped at the
American
end.
impacted
But then so did
I
Trump.
missed the
by
shut up.
coronavirus.
I
care of the
didn't
president
even
was
see
seated.
I didn't see
Shut
the
up, man.
highlights.
Reed
Yeah.
Hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
White
about.
House
I think that was like
doctors
20, 30
exceptional.
minutes in.
And the transparency that they
I
practiced
mean,
all
obviously, it
along the
was
way
very.
will continue.
It's what everyone wanted to
The
say.
American
So
people
you
have
got
a
that one going.
right to
Whenever you
know
do
about the
that,
health
you're
and
doing
well-being
good.
of their president, and will continue.
All right,
to
let's
do
see what they're
that.
talking about for a second.
And I'm just extremely grateful, and was more than a little moved encouraged by the broad and bipartisan support. And Senator, I want to thank you and Joe Biden for your expressions.
Like a little nod and thank you there.
And I also want to congratulate you, as I did on that phone call, on the historic
Look,
nature.
I'm not a
of your
monster.
nomination.
I'm a normal human.
Should I do an edible?
I never
don't,
expected to
take
be on this stage for
a nice
you.
guy,
do it,
and
Amber.
wonderful.
I know the
I'm very
I'm going to do an
respectful.
edible.
Please, for the love of God, do not take
We've got an
a
election
hot piece of
before the
metal
American
to a
people in
petri
the
dish
midst
of my
of this
blood. For
challenging
the love
year.
of God, don't do
The
it.
stakes have never been higher, but I
Thank you,
think the
thank you,
choice
Vice
has never been
President Pence.
clear.
I want to give Senator Harris a chance to respond to the same
Now, some say
question I
Fox
asked, which
Mulder
is, do
is a
voters
hero.
have a right to know
I cannot
more
abide
detailed health
such
information
talk.
about presidential candidates and especially about presidents, especially when they're facing some kind of challenge?
Absolutely, and that's why Joe Biden has been so incredibly transparent, and certainly by contrast, the president has not, both in terms of health records, but also let's look at taxes. We now know, because of great investigative journalism, that Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. When I first heard about it, I literally said, "You mean
say this as a member of the media, praising the
$750,000?"
media,
And it
never
was
a
like,
good
no,
look.
$750.
People don't like them.
We now know Donald Trump owes and is in debt
Get the
for
dirt, publish it, don't
$400
pat your
million.
back.
And just so everyone is clear, when we say in debt, it means you owe money to somebody. And it'd be really good to know who the President of the United States,
Who is that?
the
Who's that
Commander-in-Chief,
line for?
owes
The
When
people
we
in
say
America
debt,
who
we-
don't have
American
debt.
people have a
when we
right
say
to
debt,
know
we mean it.
Yeah,
to-
exactly.
what is
Yeah.
If you have
influencing.
debt, you're
He's
a
a
bad
piece of
person.
shit who owes
Decisions.
money to
And
other
is he making
people. What
those
kind of
decisions on the
scumbag is
best
like
interest
that?
of the
How
American
many
people
of
you
y'all in America don't
or
have debt?
self-interest? So, Susan, I'm glad you asked about transparency, because it has
It's
to
just,
be
like,
across
so
the board.
frustrating
Joe
because
has
it's like
been
she doesn't-
incredibly transparent over
It's like
many,
always
many
like the
years.
facts of this, like,
The
yeah,
one
they're bad
thing we all
enough. You
know
don't
about
have to
Joe,
do this like
he puts it all out there.
stupid
He
like
is
third grade
honest, he
summary
is
of what you
forthright.
think is wrong about it.
But Donald Trump, on the other hand,
Susan.
has been about covering up everything.
Thank you, Senator Harris. I want to give you a chance to respond, Vice President.
Well, look, I respect the fact that Joe Biden spent 47 years.
It's
in public
crazy that
life.
nobody's
I
brought up
respect
the
your
failed stimulus
public
thing. I'm just
service
gonna
as
say
well.
it. Like that's fucking
The
psycho.
American people
might
have a
still.
president.
Like the economy. I mean, but like
businessman.
by now,
He's a
we're
job
like a half
creator.
hour into this fucking thing,
He's
and
paying
like the
tens of
economy's gonna crater in
millions
like a
of
month and a
dollars in
half, and like
taxes.
nobody gives a shit.
Payroll taxes, property taxes. He's created tens of
Hey,
thousands
folks who
of
remember this better
American
than I
jobs.
do, how did Dick
The
Cheney
president said
do in
those
these
public
debates?
reports are not accurate, and the president's also released.
No, I remember
stacks
he
of
was
financial
pretty much
disclosures
considered the
the
winner of
American people
the
can
one against Lieberman.
review.
Yeah, he's
This
also
is the law
because
allows.
Joe Lieberman is
Because
distinction
Lieberman
here
is an
is that
absolute bitch.
Joe Biden,
Yeah, he's
was
a-
47
genetic bitch of the
years
first
in
order.
Public service compared to
Joe
President
Lieberman
Donald
is
Trump,
like a-
who brought all of that experience.
he
4
was
years
a
ago
fossil
Thank you,
then.
Vice
and
President.
turned this economy around.
And his
by
son
cutting
is
taxes,
fucking shit
rolling
up
back
now.
regulation,
Thank you,
unleashing
Vice
American
President
energy,
Pence.
fighting for free
Oh hell
and
yeah,
fair
cutting
trade,
taxes and
and
rolling back
all of
Thank
that
you,
is
Vice
on
My pussy
President.
is
Joe
wide
Biden
open at this
and
shit.
Kamala.
You know, that's a
Right
good
away.
segue into
Stuff
our
that they've
third
been doing for
topic,
40
which
years,
is
and everyone's
about
life
the
just
economy.
keeps getting
This
worse.
has been
With
another
every tax
aspect
cut
of
and
life
every
for Americans
regulation
that's been
cut,
so
everyone's life
affected
just gets more and more
by this
miserable. But if we keep
coronavirus.
doing
We have a
it, we'll
jobs
suddenly get
crisis
an inflection
brewing.
point where
On
everything
Friday,
is
we
great.
learned that the unemployment
Bring a
rate
bucket and a
declined to
mop. We're cutting
7.9% in
taxes and
September,
slashing
But the
regulations.
job growth had stalled, and that was before the latest round of layoffs and
All right,
furloughs
let's see if we
in
can't
the
make
airline
this
industry at
more
Disney and
interesting.
elsewhere. Hundreds of thousands of discouraged workers have stopped looking for work. Nearly
Else.
11
They're
million
talking
jobs that
stimulus now, I
existed
think.
at the beginning of
Stimulus.
the year
Who's this
haven't
woman?
been replaced.
Susan
Those
Page,
hardest
she's
hit
an editor at
include
USA
Latinos,
Today.
blacks,
She's
and
a hack.
Senator
Yeah.
Harris, the Biden-Harris campaign has proposed new programs to boost the economy, and you would pay for that new spending by raising $4
If
trillion
you ask how we're going
in
to pay for
taxes
things,
on
I
wealthy
will
individuals and
buy a
corporations.
suitcase nuke.
Some economists warn that
Former
could
Soviet
Parody,
Republic.
that's parody.
entrepreneurial
Yeah.
ventures
I'm
that
sorry.
fuel growth
I'm sorry.
and
Was
create
Dirty
I don't
War?
do anything with it. I just say I would buy one.
Put the
Was the
recovery
HBO series
at
Dirty
risk,
War
and
not
you
an
have 2 minutes
instructional
to
guide?
answer uninterrupted.
Thank you.
All right, I want to hear this.
On the issue of the economy, I think there couldn't be a more fundamental difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
All right, you better talk
Joe
stimulus. We want to
Biden
give you
believes
money.
you measure the health
Yeah.
and the strength of America's economy
Say-
based on
don't say
the
strength of
health
American
and the
economy.
strength of the American
Give
worker
money.
and the American family. On the other
Oh,
hand,
wow,
you have
this
Donald
is good
Trump,
stuff.
who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing, which is
Yes.
why he passed a tax bill benefiting
Yes.
the top 1%
People
and
don't
the
talk
biggest
about that tax bill,
corporations
sorry.
of America, leading to
It was wild.
a $2
And
trillion deficit
unpopular.
that the American people are going to have to pay for. On day one, Joe Biden will repeal that tax bill. He'll get rid of it. And what he'll do with the money is invest it in the American people. And through a plan
Nothing
that is
about
about
stimulus,
investing in
Jesus
infrastructure,
Christ.
something that Donald Trump said he would do. I remember hearing about some infrastructure week. I don't think it ever happened. But Joe Biden
eyelashes
will do
look
that. He'll
nice.
invest in infrastructure. It's about upgrading our roads and bridges, but also
That was
investing in
just for the
clean
Twitter
energy,
media
and renewable
people.
energy. Joe is going to invest that
Dude,
money
like,
in
I
what
just
we need
meant,
to
like,
do around
throwing out,
innovation.
like, meat
There was a
to,
time
like,
when our country
MSNBC
believed in
viewers.
science.
Every blue check just
And
spreaded
invested in
everywhere when
research
she
and
said that about
development.
Oh no,
So
the
that we were
regular
an
Rachel,
innovation leader on the
Meta
globe.
watchers are
Joe
patting
Biden will
themselves
use that
down with
money to
paper
invest in
towels right now.
education.
There might be an argument
So,
to make
for
that
example,
Kamala is our
for
most
folks who want to go
online
to a two-year
candidate.
community college, it will be free.
Well, she
Definitely.
definitely,
Her-
if
No.
not her herself, she has
$150,000.
troops. She has
You'll go to a
troops.
public university.
She has
Fair.
You know for a
outsources
fact that her
it.
And
campaign,
across the board,
one of the
I'll
reasons
make
her
sure
campaign was so
that if
bad
you
is
have
because her
student loan
campaign was
debt,
too
it's cut
fixated
by
on the
$10,000.
micro
That's how Joe Biden thinks about the
takes,
economy,
like the
which
daily
is about
cycle and like
investing in
She
pivoting
thinks
towards
the
it,
internet
which
is
why it's
real.
so
as
incoherent.
opposed to passing a
Yeah.
tax bill,
Uh,
which
yeah,
had the
no, she's
benefit
very online.
of
And then, of
letting
course, her
American
one big,
corporations
as we talked about,
go
her big
offshore to do their
attention
business.
grabbing call to arms and call to action
Senator
in the
Harris. Vice
Democratic
President
debates
Pence, your
was
administration
ban
has
Trump
been
from
predicting
Twitter.
a rapid and robust.
Oh God! Oh, that was
But the
so
latest
embarrassing.
economic
I
report
blocked
suggests
that out.
That's not happening.
That was
Should Americans
awful.
be braced
He's
for an
the
economic
president.
comeback that is going to take not months but a year?
That was
and
the weird
more?
thing with
You
like
have
the
2 minutes
Anderson
to answer
Cooper
uninterrupted.
like freak out about
President Trump
the
and I took office.
Trump
America had gone
not
through
wearing the
the
mask
slowest
thing, and he's like,
economic
"We're not going to
recovery since
show
the
it here to
Depression.
you because it's
When Joe Biden was vice
dangerous."
president, they
And
tried
it's
to
like,
tax
"You're
and
the
spend and
news,
regulate and fail our way
ostensibly."
back to a growing
Amber, if
economy.
there is a gain
President
knob
Trump
on
cut
that
taxes
microphone, can you
across
turn
the
it down
board.
even a little more?
Despite what
There
Senator
isn't, but I'll
Harris
try.
says,
I'll turn
the
down the
average American
volume.
family of four
Yeah,
had
but you're spiking just a
$2,000 in
little bit.
savings and taxes. And with the
That's
rise
that.
in wages
That's
that
good.
occurred,
You're right
most
there.
predominantly for blue
In
collar,
the pocket.
hardworking Americans.
I can't promise I
The
won't
average
yell.
household income
These are
for a
very
family
fast.
of four increased
Well, it's just
by
making sure that you're
God,
not.
this is so
following
funny.
President Trump's tax cuts.
Yeah, yeah. What's
But
the
actually,
argument?
you just heard Senator
having
Harris
this
tell you.
in the current
On day
moment
one,
after that last debate where they're
Biden's
just
gonna raise your
screaming
tax.
at each other, having
really remarkable
dueling
to
death
think.
monologues, and then
Right
Trump gets
after
sick and he's like
a
in the
time
court of the
where we're going
Crimson
through a
King,
pandemic
like
that lost
choking on a
42
fucking
million jobs
spoon.
to height.
And then they have this
Added
debate, and
back
it's just
11.6
we're going to talk
million
about
jobs.
hardworking Americans
Because we had a
and the need
president
for
who cut taxes,
tax
rolled back
Jesus
regulation,
Christ.
unleashed America.
It's like nothing happened, and that's what they're going to try to do if Trump
secured
loses. Act
$4
like it never
trillion
happened.
from the Congress of the United States.
It
give
will,
direct
as John
payments
Draper
to
said, it
families,
will shock you
save
how much
50
it never
million
happened.
jobs through
It
the
will shock
Paycheck
you how much it
Protection
never
Program.
happened. Great
We
line.
I
literally
mean, this
spared
is
no
like
expense to
a
help the
Protestant
American people
country
and
in
the
many
American
ways,
worker
but the
through this.
whole WASP
Joe Biden and
denial
Kamala
thing,
Harris wanna
like
raise
gritting your
taxes.
teeth through
They wanna
Thanksgiving,
bury our
pretending
economy
like
under a
your
$2
uncle isn't
trillion
gay and dying
Green
of
New
AIDS.
Deal,
Like that really
which you
is
were
like
one
the
of the original
backbone of like
co-sponsors of in the
the
United
upper
States Senate.
echelons of
They want to
of,
abolish fossil
Protestant
fuels
political
and
culture.
ban
I noticed-
fracking,
Pure
which would
denial.
cost
I noticed
hundreds
this
of
week there was a
thousands of
spike in the
American
number
jobs all
of
across
vote
the
for
heartland.
Biden so we can
And Joe
stop
Biden
caring
wants to
about
go
this
back to
shit
economic
posts.
Yeah.
I
standard
told
of China
you,
that when we took
never
office,
underestimate
half
the
of our
please for the love
international
of
trade
God.
deficit was
Whatever will
China
shut them up, I'll
alone.
do it. Leave me
Joe
alone.
Biden wants
Yeah,
to
it's
repeal
gonna
all
happen.
the
That's why I think
tariffs
Biden's going to win.
that President Trump
Yeah,
put into
yeah,
effect.
I
as
agree.
for American
I was
I
just-
think that's his
taxpayers.
biggest
Predominant
advantage.
I was just
Joe Biden
I
says
was just in Cape
democracy's on
Cod
the
and I saw
ballot.
like a
Make no
zillion
mistake
fucking
about it.
Biden signs.
Ooh, la di
The American
da.
economy, the
Yeah,
American
I mean there were a lot of
comeback is
Trump
on
signs,
the
granted, but
ballot.
I was surprised by
4
the
more
sign,
years
the
of
Biden
growth.
sign
Thank you.
energy.
An opportunity,
Thank you.
4 more
Yeah.
years of
Got
President
them
Donald
old.
Trump.
He's got them old Boston
2021
Thank you,
liberals
Vice
is the
President.
locked
biggest
up.
economic year in the
Yeah.
history of this country.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Senator Harris.
Well, I mean, I thought we saw enough of it in last
She seems
week's
very
debate, but I think
together.
this is
I was
supposed to
hoping
be
she would
debate
be a little
based on fact and
sloppy,
truth.
little,
And the truth,
I know,
you know,
she's
fact
pretty
is,
buttoned
Joe
down.
Biden has been very clear.
I would like her to get
He
a
will
little
not
riled.
raise
Have a
taxes
spike.
on
Have a
anybody who
moment.
makes less than $400,000
He
a
says
year.
repeal the Trump tax cut.
Papa
Mr. Vice
Sam.
President, I'm speaking.
There we go. That's the moment that people were
The important is he
will
said the
will clip
truth.
out.
Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Yeah, she
That
just
was
said
tax
that.
She
cuts
just said that
gave the
I-
average
they
working
will.
She
family
just said she would do that. They're not
$2,000
popular.
in a tax break every
You shrunk
single
wrap
year.
race
Senator,
ban
That
and
is
ass.
That's the math.
absolutely not true. That
Is he
has
only
been-
cutting-
Oh,
is he only
it's
gonna
true.
repeal
He's like
part of the
the
Trump tax cut?
dehydrated.
If you don't don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation.
Oh,
okay?
fuck, what was
Please.
it?
Okay.
He's like the dehydrated version
Joe
of
Biden
the
will not raise
captain on
taxes
Sea
on anyone
Lab.
who makes less than
He's got a very
$400,000
Hanna-Barbera
He's
kind
been very
of
clear about that.
fake.
Joe Biden
Murphy.
will not end fracking. He has been
Ray
very clear
Spannon.
about that. Joe
From
Biden
Johnny Quest.
is the one who
Yeah, he's got a
during the
Hanna-Barbera
Great
ass
Recession
face.
was
Yeah, I mean,
responsible
literally, he looks like
for the
Chris.
recovery
Pull up
effort
Ray
that brought
Spannon.
America
I know
back.
Ray Spannon. I
Now
think
the
that
Trump
Captain Murphy from
administration wants to take
Sea Lab
credit.
is better. Let me see.
When
I
they
think Amber had
when
it.
they rode the coattails of
Bro,
Joe Biden's
I mean,
success.
The bad thing about the thing about
Hanna-Barbera
cartoons though is that they basically reused the same
Joe
like
Biden, on the
cells
one
and everything.
hand, did
They
that. On the other hand, you have
invented
Donald
cutting
Trump,
corners to make
who
shitty
has
cartoons. So they're
reigned
probably
over
very similar.
a
looking.
recession that is being compared to the Great Depression. On the one hand,
Harris,
you have
well,
Joe Biden,
Harris affirmed that
who
Joe
was
Biden
responsible with President Obama for the Affordable
Yeah, no,
Care
there's
Act,
no
Sorry,
way you would
everybody.
do that.
which brought health care to over 20 million Americans and
I thought you
protected
said
people with
franking, and
pre-existing
I'm like,
conditions.
about time
And what
these
it also
motherfuckers
did
paid for their own
is it
postage.
saved those families who otherwise were going bankrupt because of hospital bills they could not afford. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now, trying to get rid of
Thank you, Senator
trying to
Harris.
get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections if you have pre-existing conditions. And this is very important, Susan.
Yes,
and it's
but we
important.
need to give Vice President.
I'd just like to, he interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish, please.
She sounds a
There
little
we go.
congested.
If
She sounds
you
a little
have a
congested.
pre-existing condition,
Yeah.
heart
He's a
disease,
little, phlegmy.
diabetes, breast
If you
cancer,
have
Nasal.
they're coming
It's
for
like
you.
a keening nasal
If you
quality to
have
the voice.
someone who has a
Is it
pre-existing condition,
nasality?
Thank
they're
you, Senator
coming for
Harris.
you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you.
Senator Harris, thank you.
Coming
Let
for
me give
you.
you a chance to respond.
Well, I
They
hope we
kicked
have a
down
chance
your
to
front
talk
door.
about
How you
health
gonna
care,
come?
because Obamacare was a
I hope
disaster.
we have a chance to
Was it?
talk
People
about
remember
health
it
care.
well.
You know, just in
President
case
Trump
we
and I had
missed
a
that
plan
one.
To improve health care and
Hope we talk about
protect
Stan
pre-existing conditions for every
Who
American.
is Stan Chera? Has that
But
been
look,
established?
Senator Harris, you're entitled to your own
he's a
opinion, but you're not
New York
entitled
real
to your own
estate guy who
fact.
died of COVID early in
You
the
yourself
thing,
said
and then
on
Trump was
multiple
apparently worried
occasions when you
about
were
he,
running
quote,
for
going
president.
out
Yeah,
like Stan
I
Chera
saw
when
that.
they go to the hospital.
Admittedly, that was from
Joe
a Gabe
Biden
Sherman
looked his
article, and
supporter in
Gabe
the eye
Sherman is
and
like
pointed and said, I
playing.
guarantee
It feels like he's playing a
yeah.
little fast and loose these
that we will
days.
abolish
I-
fossil
Yes,
fuels.
but Stan Chera's
We
a
have
real
$2
guy,
trillion
and
version
so
of the
that's
green
a
newspaper.
great
The
story.
Green
It's a great
newspaper,
story.
USA Today said, really wasn't that
But
very
that's all that it is.
different
It's a
from the
story.
original Green
That's the
New
weird
Deal.
thing about this stuff
More
is like
taxes, more regulation.
almost
banning
anything you
fracking,
say about him
abolishing
is
fossil fuel, crushing American energy,
semi-plausible.
and economic surrender to China.
But
is
you
a
know that, like, about
prescription
half
for
of them are
economic
lies.
Decline. President Trump and I will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's
Keep America
underway
growing.
right
It's definitely
now
growing right
will
now.
continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump.
Not lung
Thank you very,
capacity.
very
Lung
much,
capacity is
Vice
shrinking
President. Once
rapidly.
again,
Shrinking
you've
rapidly.
provided the perfect segue to a new topic, which is climate change.
This
And Vice
I feel like
President
this
Pence, I'd like to pose the
largely
first
could have
question
been the
This year, we've seen record-setting
VP debate
hurricanes
in
the
like
South.
1996.
Another one, Hurricane Delta, is now threatening the Gulf.
Other than the
Yes. We
have seen
specific
record-setting
issues of
wildfires in the
COVID and
Do you
whatever, it's like
believe,
all the shit is
as the
just like
scientific community has concluded,
Yeah.
that
How
man-made
about that
climate
tech
change
boom?
has made
Yeah.
wildfires bigger, hotter, and more
taxes,
deadly,
deregulation.
and have made hurricanes wetter, slower,
Better,
and
the
more
summers are going to be wetter
You
and
have 2
hotter.
minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you, Susan.
More American.
there he is.
First,
there he
I'm very
is.
proud of our record on the environment and on conservation.
Absolutely, they did a great
According
job.
to all of the best estimates, our air and land are cleaner than any time ever
I
recorded.
love how they shipped to
And our water is among
cleaning,
the cleanest in the
cleanliness,
world.
which also isn't even
And
true.
just
But
a
what does
little
that
while
have to do
ago,
with
the
CO2
president signed the
emissions?
Outdoors Act. It's the largest investment in our
Cleanliness?
public lands and public parks.
Yeah, it's just like the air is clean.
100
It's like, well, if
years.
it's filled with CO2, it doesn't
President Trump
fucking
has made
matter.
a commitment to conservation and to the environment. Now, with regard to climate change,
No, the climate is changing.
the climate is changing.
Ah,
The issue
very
is,
good.
what's the cause? And what do we do
I
about
don't know.
it? President Trump has
Who's
made it
to
clear that
say?
we're going to continue to listen to the science.
I mean,
Now,
what is
Joe
facts?
Biden
What is
and
happening?
Kamala
I
Harris
mean,
would put us
is there
back
anything
in
even
the
occurring
Paris
outside your
Climate
head? Who
Accord.
knows?
They'd impose the Green New Deal, which would crush American energy, would increase the energy costs of American families.
Yeah, I would
and
love
What
to
we're
see.
going to do about it?
literally would crush American
I would love to see
jobs.
DMT Pence.
President Trump and I believe
God.
that
Delivery.
the progress
Hang
that
on.
we have made in a cleaner environment has been happening precisely because we have a strong free market economy. You know,
Oh,
what's
yeah, free
remarkable
market.
is
The thing that got us
the
into
United
this is
States
gonna
has
get us out.
reduced CO2
We'll
more
dig our way out.
than the countries that are still in the Paris Climate Accord, but we've done it through innovation. And we've done it through natural gas and fracking, which Senator...
We're gonna frack our way.
You fucking gargoyle.
No, Joe
I'm
Biden
excited to frack
says
our way
also
to
what
climate
you
equity.
do.
Kamala is
But
going to
both
be
of you
earth
repeatedly committed to abolishing fossil
Of course she
fuels.
is. She's going to say, we love to frack.
fracking.
We love our
And
fracks.
so by
Our gas
creating the kind of
enforcement.
American innovation, we're actually steering toward a stronger and better environment. With regard to wildfires, President
Clean
Trump
them
and
up.
I believe
Sweep
that
the floor.
Sweep the
Yes,
floors.
sweep the
front
floor.
and center, and even Governor Gavin Newsom from your state has agreed we've got to work on forest management. And with regard to hurricanes, the National Oceanic Administration tells us that actually as difficult as they are,
Thank you, Vice President.
there are no more hurricanes today than there were 100 years ago.
They're way stronger.
Many of the climate alarmists use hurricanes and wildfires to try and sell the bill of goods.
I'd watch her
New
just like
Deal.
say, I don't want to
And
do
President Trump and
anything
I have
radical.
always
We
put
want to do
American
some
workers
They're not even going to.
Senator Harris,
This is even
as
gonna be.
the Vice President mentioned, you co-sponsored the Green New Deal in Congress. But Vice President Biden said in last week's debate that he does not support
Biden
the
deal,
Green New
baby.
Deal.
Don't you
But if
worry
you look
about
at
it,
the
sister. I got
Biden-Harris
it.
campaign
The Green
website, it
Biden
describes
deal.
the Green New Deal as a crucial framework. What exactly would be the stance of a Biden-Harris
BRB.
administration toward the Green New Deal? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact.
Woo! I feel
will
better already.
repeat that Joe Biden has been very clear that he thinks about growing jobs, which is why he will not increase taxes for anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. Joe Biden's economic plan, Moody's, which is a reputable Wall Street firm, has said will create 7 million more jobs than Donald Trump's. And part of those jobs that will be created by Joe Biden are going to be about clean energy and renewable energy. Because you see,
So just
Joe
more Sully Andrews.
understands
This is fantastic.
that the
This is gonna
west
go great.
coast
I
of
can't
our
wait.
country is burning, including my home state of California. Joe sees what is happening on the Gulf states, which are being battered by storms. Joe has seen and talked with the farmers in Iowa.
It is.
whose
It's just
entire
like we
crops
hear
have
you,
been
we
destroyed
see
because
you,
of
we
floods.
understand. Your call
And
is
so Joe
important to
believes,
us.
again, in
Stay
science.
on the
I'll tell
line.
you something, Susan.
That's
I
it.
served when I first got to the Senate on the
Tax
committee
credits
that's
for
responsible
fucking
for the
solar
environment.
panels.
You know, this administration
And we hear and see you.
took
Oh,
the
your
word
farm
science
blew
off
away.
the
And your dad
website
blew his brains out in the barn.
and
We
then
hear
took
you.
the phrase climate
Your
change
entire
off
town
the
got wiped off
website.
the map by a hurricane.
We have
see
seen a
you.
pattern with this administration, which is they don't believe in science. And Joe's
You don't
plan
believe in
is
science
about
either
saying
if
we're
you're
gonna
not
deal
gonna
with this,
ban
but we're also going
fracking.
to create jobs. Donald Trump, when asked about the wildfires in California, and the question was, you know, the science is telling us this. You know what Donald Trump said? Science doesn't know. So
I'm
let's
here to
talk
say
about
that
who
I
is
fucking love
prepared
science.
to lead our country
Joe
over the
Biden
course of
fucking
the
loves
next 4
science.
years on
Everyone
what
in
is
the
an
Biden
existential
administration
threat to
will
us as
fucking
human
love
beings.
science.
Joe is about saying we're going to invest that in renewable energy.
We're going to
It's gonna be about
appoint
the
George
creation of millions
Takei
of jobs.
as the
We will
EPA
achieve
administrator.
net zero emissions by 2050, carbon neutral by 2035. Joe has a plan. This has been a lot of talk from the Trump
Carbon
administration.
neutral
and
by
really it has been to go
2035?
backward instead
That's
of forward.
pretty,
We will also re-enter
bold.
the climate
Well,
agreement
how
with
exactly
COP.
is that going to happen
Senator
without
Harris just
anything
said
other
that
than, what, a
climate
bunch of
change is
tax
an
breaks
existential
and
threat.
fiddling around the edges?
Vice President Pence, do you believe that climate change poses an existential threat?
Only
As I
Satan
said,
poses
Susan,
an
the
existential
climate is
threat.
changing. We'll follow the
I
science.
said the climate is changing again.
Once again,
Two in a
Senator
row.
Harris is denying the fact that they're going to raise taxes.
Oh my
on the
God.
Americans. Joe Biden
Jesus
said
Christ.
twice
Give
in the
me
debate last
Trump
week
screaming
that on
about
day one,
Nellie
he
Orr.
was going to repeal the Trump
This is
tax
so Bushier.
Those
This
tax
is
cuts
just
delivered
so
$2,000
2003.
in tax
This
relief.
is, yeah,
Without the
wait,
fucking-
this is,
like
it's all
everything
coming
that
back.
wasn't
It's
the
all
war on
coming
terror.
With regard
back.
to banning
And everything
fracking, I
that
just
wasn't the war on
recommend people
terror back then. Just
look at
like,
the record. You
we're gonna
yourself
do
said
regulations
repeatedly
on
that
you.
you would ban fracking. You
There's
were
gonna
ban
be
fracking
no-
and do your thing.
co-sponsor.
But here's
Literally
the
just
thing.
like he's saying, we're going to ban
Joe
fracking.
Biden
She's saying, no, we're
denied
not. He
the
goes,
Green
yes,
New
you
Deal.
are.
Susan, thank
But
you
here's
for
the
pointing
here's
out.
and here's the
Green New
thing.
Deal is on their
Absolutely, like
campaign
nothing
website.
is going to happen.
And as USA
It's just
Today
going to
said,
be the
happen.
same. It's
essentially
going to be
the
just
same
total
plan.
inertia.
As you co-sponsored
And they're
with
going to talk
AOC
about all
when she
these idiots.
submitted
They're
it
going
in
to
the
talk
Senate.
about these things,
And you
and it's
just
just
heard
going
the
to be
senator
more
say
like
that she's gonna
hyper-normalized bullshit.
resubmit
How many
American
people are even
Paris
employed by
climate
fracking, even
Look,
in the fucking blue
The
in
American
the
people
in
have
the
always
swing
cherished our
states?
environment.
I mean,
We'll
fucking
continue
look
to
at
cherish
like
it.
all the
We've made great
shale,
progress
like the fucking
reducing
fallout of like
CO2
the shale
emissions
crash
through
in like
American
Texas and
innovation
everything. I don't know. It's
development
just
of
like
natural
Yeah,
gas
it's
through
like
fracking.
oil is cheap as
We
shit.
don't
They were
need
paying
a
people to
massive
store it a
$2
few months ago.
trillion Green New Deal that would impose all new mandates on American businesses and
repeating
American
Give a
Not
quick
families.
even
can
bringing
check
Joe
to
Biden
wants us to
Harpoon's
retrofit
Dunkin'
4
Pumpkin
million
Ale.
Thank you, Vice
American
President.
business buildings It makes no sense. It will cost
I'm
jobs.
getting
President
some
Trump
whiskey.
Pretty good.
Thank you,
is going
Vice
to put
President.
America first. He's going to put
Yeah, I'm
jobs
gonna take. I'm
first.
I had
gonna.
to get some.
Wait,
Fair
no,
trade.
real quickly, what were they talking about?
Thank you,
But,
Vice
on the
President.
issue of jobs,
Senator Harris.
let's
climate,
talk about that.
Green New Deal.
The
All right, great.
Vice President earlier referred to, as part of what he thinks is an accomplishment, the president's trade war with China. You lost that trade war. You lost it.
Owned.
What ended up
Starting to
happening
look a little irritated.
is because of a so-called trade war with China, America lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs. Farmers have experienced bankruptcy because of it. We are in a manufacturing recession because of
Not
it.
the farmers.
And when we look at
I mean,
where
she's
this
right, but it's
administration
just
has
like
been,
this is so
there are
like
estimates that by
I
the
just
end
don't
of the
believe her
term
because
of
it's
this
like
administration,
Biden at the Trump
they
debate
will
was talking
have
about how hard he
lost
was going to
more
be on
jobs
China,
than
and like
almost
he like went
any
hard on it
other
out of nowhere.
Presidential
Like,
administration.
I like.
And the American people know what
I just
I'm talking about.
honestly
You know.
on this I believe
I
him
think about
over like whatever
20-year-olds.
Harris
You know,
is
we
putting
have a
out. This
20-year-old,
sounds like discipline
a
now because
20-something-year-old
all the incentives
who
are
coming
for
out of high
like
school and
moderate
college
Democrats
right
to
now,
be
and you're
crazy
wondering,
hawkish in
is there
China
going to be a
now.
job there for me?
Yep.
We're looking at people who
Which
are
is idiotic,
trying
'cause
to
they make all
figure
the
out
things.
how they're going to pay rent by the end of the month.
I
Well,
mean,
we
it's
have to
a-
offload
American
all of the
renters
horror.
are
I mean,
worried about
like,
whether they're
but
going to be
we need
able
them,
to pay
but
rent.
we also
by the
can't
end of the
accept,
month.
like, we can't just
This
tell
is
people,
where
hey,
the economy
this is
in
how you get
America
your cheap
right
shit.
now,
Deal
and
with
it is
it. We have to
because
act
of
like there's
the
some sort of actual
catastrophe
conflict that we
and the
can
failure
win.
of leadership of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice
And
President
watching
Pence, let
this
me give
after
you
the
just
last
15
debate,
seconds to respond.
I gotta
because then I
say,
wanna move on.
Well, I'd love
I'm
to
really
respond.
not looking forward to
lost the
as enervating
China.
and
Joe Biden
nerve
never
wracking
fought it.
as like the Trump
Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for
high,
Communist
like the
China
Trump style of
for over the
politics
last
where it's
several decades.
maximally
And
nerve wracking
again,
and
Senator Harris, you're
confrontational at
entitled
all
to your opinion,
times.
you're not entitled to
We're
your
just
own
going to go
facts.
back to this
Joe
and act
Biden
like
was
it
vice
never
president.
happened.
We lost
That's almost more
200,000
perverse than
manufacturing
keeping
jobs.
going.
And
Well, but
President
like-
Obama said they would
insanely
never come
boring
back.
and
He said
lame.
we needed a
But here's the
massive
thing,
amount to bring back.
Whiplash
In
followed
our
by
first
bed
3
rest.
years after
That's
we
what's
cut
going to
taxes,
Thank you,
happen.
rolled back
President.
regulation,
Here's the
unleashed
thing:
American
is just
energy.
that like
This
it's going to go
administration
back to
saw
being boring, but like
500,000
nothing happened
Vice
while it was
President.
jobs
extreme.
created.
So they're
And
just
that's
like
exactly
all of
the
this
kind of
boring,
growth we're gonna
all the
continue
all
to
the
I
see
don't
like.
care
to
about
bring
stuff
our nation
happening. I
through
just
Thank you,
this
Vice
pandemic.
nothing's going to
The
happen.
Green New
That should
Deal,
be
you passed a
entertaining.
new
I
mandate
I just
for
don't
Paris
think that
Climate
the board.
Accord.
I
It's
think
gonna
that
kill
this
jobs
is
this
like
time, just like it
we're in a
killed
special
jobs.
period.
I'd like to
This
talk-
can't
I just need to
last.
respond very
Like,
briefly.
15
this like
seconds,
facade
and
of boredom,
Thank you.
like the economy's about to, like the bottom's about to
Biden
fall out of the
is
economy.
responsible
Like
for
you know what I mean?
saving
Like
America's
this is
auto
like
That one,
this
though,
is
I
the
think-
media. This is the
I think
media
with
and the
stuff like
political
housing,
elites
though,
putting on a show to
Thank
pretend
you.
it's good.
I'd like
That
to
could
talk
be a
about
very
China.
slow-
We have as our
slow
next
descent
topic.
into
We have
horror.
no more complicated.
Like I could see
or
it not
consequential
getting
foreign
bad for like
relationship
another
than the one
year,
with China.
and then it gets
It
really
is
bad
a huge
all of a
market for
sudden.
American agricultural.
Okay,
goods.
they're talking
It's
about
a
this right now.
Potential partner
Let's
in
hear
dealing with
what they
climate
have
change
to
in
say
North
about
Korea.
China.
And in a video tonight, President Trump again blamed
China.
the
China.
coronavirus, saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Competitors, adversaries, enemies?
Enemy is the only
Frenemy.
correct
Have 2
answer there.
minutes.
Thank you, Susan.
They are big
Let me,
booty
before
hoes.
I leave that,
They're-
let me
they're-
speak to
they're that
voting
hoe
records
over
if I
there.
can.
We think they're frenemies.
Everybody knows
They
that NAFTA
don't think
cost
about us at all.
literally thousands of American
They've got their
factories.
eyes on their own
We
papers.
saw automotive
Yeah,
jobs go
to do
south
another
of
Madman
where
meme,
President
I
Trump
feel sorry
fought
for you. I don't think
to
about you at all.
renegotiate NAFTA.
Yep.
And the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is now the law of the land.
Chinese Don
Just
Draper.
deserve
It's
to
going to be a
know.
great
It's still just
hometown.
Senator
NAFTA.
Kamala Harris was one of
Character.
only 10 members of the Senate to
That was
vote
just- it was
against
just
the
NAFTA again, man.
USMCA. It was a huge win for American auto workers. It was a huge win for American farmers, especially
It was a
dairy
huge
in
win
the
for the
Midwest.
5 remaining American auto
But
workers.
Senator, you said it didn't go far enough on climate change. That you put your radical environmental agenda
you put your
ahead
thing.
of American auto
He's like that
workers
guy
and
who Jerry
American
Lundegaard sold the
jobs.
True
I think
Coat
the
to.
American people deserve to know.
Yeah,
that.
you're a
Probably
liar. You're a
His
liar.
President
Liar.
You're a
fucking
fucking
liar.
member of the United States Senate in 2019, more liberal than Bernie
Give my
Sanders.
check.
In here, you're
more
talking.
liberal
You're
than
talking
any
about a
of the
Green
others
New Deal.
in the United
You're
States
talking
Senate.
about
So,
banning
With
fracking.
regard to China, look,
All right, heck,
first
Susan,
and
get my
foremost,
checkbook out.
China is to blame for the coronavirus. And President Trump is not happy about it. He's made that very clear. Made it clear again.
This guy sucks.
China and the World Health Organization did not play straight with the American
This is the
people.
one man I will say with
They did not let our personnel into
China.
China to get information on the coronavirus.
Metaphysical
until the
certainty will
middle of
not
February.
be the next Republican
Fortunately,
nominee.
President Trump
Dude, if
Dealing with China
Trump
from the outside of this
dies,
administration, standing
remember
up to
Herman
China that
Cain,
have been
40
taking
days.
advantage of
Herman
America
Cain,
for
40 days.
decades.
Let's go.
40 days.
And wake
Yeah.
up.
So
Great.
if Trump dies and
President
I
Trump
Pence
actually have my
takes
Trump
over,
death
before the end of
advent
January to
calendar.
suspend
then if
all
Pence
travel
takes
from
over,
China.
then it's like
Again,
Joe
American
Biden
people
with
deserve to know
like
Joe Biden
it's
opposed
just
President Trump's
it's like a
decision to suspend all travel.
anti-charisma. I
He
don't
said It
know.
was hysterical. He said it
Thank
was
you, Vice President
xenophobic.
Pence.
But President Trump has
Vice President
stood
Pence,
up
your
to
time is
China.
up.
We're going to continue to stand strong.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
We want to improve the relationship, but we're going to level the playing field, and we're going to hold
Vice President
China
Pence.
accountable for what they did to America
We're going
with the
to
coronavirus.
demand that China
Senator
acknowledge
Harris,
our
let me
lived
ask you the same
experience
question.
and submit
How
to
would you
restorative
describe
community
our
justice.
fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies?
It's a good question.
You'll
This
have
is actually a
2
pretty
minutes
decent question.
uninterrupted.
I see the Chinese as
Susan,
friends,
the-
not food.
Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and America's standing.
Her gravitas is.
There is a weird obsession
could
that
use some
President
work.
Trump has had.
I feel like I'm not
with
doing
getting rid of
anything to the.
whatever
God, he's fat.
accomplishment
I feel like I'm not doing
was
anything.
achieved by President
I'm just
Obama
watching
and
this in
Vice
such a
President Biden.
disembodied way that I'm just evaluating
example,
it like a TV show, like they're
created
beauty
within the White
contestants, and
House
it's like,
an
we're
office
composure.
It's the only way to do
It's
it.
the
basically was
only way.
responsible for monitoring
It's just a
pandemics.
boring TV show.
Yeah,
They
because
got
this is
away-
the,
they-
this
they
is an
got-
old school
It's a
debate.
very boring TV show.
There
Yeah.
was a team of
Which is
disease
why when we lose
experts
Trump, I was talking
that
about it on the street
President
today. I just
Obama
don't know what we
and Vice
fill that
President
space
Biden
of
dispatched
emotional
to
investment
China
because we are not going to be able to
to monitor
emotionally invest in
what
these people.
is now
What will
the way
predicted.
we do in Trump.
What will you
Orgies,
use to fill your Trump
club
hole?
drugs.
We now are looking
How will you fill your
at
Trump hole? Fill your Trump
210,000
hole.
Americans who have lost their lives. Let's look at the job situation. We mentioned before,
Outdoorsman like
the trade
hobbies.
deal.
I'm sorry.
Modern
I thought-
bushcraft.
They wanted to
I see
call
you,
it.
Nick.
Tiny house building.
It resulted in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs and a manufacturing recession, and the American consumer paying thousands of dollars more for goods
Thousands
because
of
that
dollars
failed
more from other goods.
war that they called it.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about standing. Pew, a
She does not
reputable
bring the fire.
research firm,
She really isn't.
has done
She
an
needs
analysis
that little girl was
that
me
shows
moment
that
for this.
Yeah,
leaders
yeah.
of all of our formerly allied countries
Honestly,
have now decided
I'm
that
surprised
they hold
that she
in
didn't
greater
hit him
esteem and respect
With the
Xi Jinping,
there was the one of the greatest
head
modern
of the
HIV
Chinese
outbreaks
Communist Party
in your
than they
state
do
when you
Donald
were in
Trump,
charge of the
the
public
president
health
of the
there.
United States, the
Yeah.
And
creator
now
of the
you
United
you are the
Indiana.
This is where we
And
are
now
Not a
you-
place with a lot of foam
because
parties.
of a
And now
failure
you are the
of this
COVID czar.
administration.
Senator
Yeah.
Harris, we've
You
seen
literally
Isn't he gonna talk
created a
about
secondary
Nellie
AIDS
Orr?
explosion.
in terms of global leadership.
Is he going to talk
over the
about
past
nasty
4 years.
Nelly Orr?
And of course, times do
I
change.
see an I feel great in the
definition.
Obamagate
We've seen
nonstop
strains
all day,
with
and
China.
yet
I
this
see
vice
an all-
president
As
doesn't
the
see
Vice
any
President
any
mentioned, we've seen strains with our
urgency
traditional
about
allies.
talking about the coup, the
Until
very
that's
unfair Democrat
What is your
coup that happened in
definition of the role
2016,
of
the
American
biggest
leadership
political scandal in
in
history.
2020?
I've seen
So,
I feel great in the
you know,
chat,
Joe
so
is-
I'm gonna hit them with
I love
the.
talking
I feel
to Joe
great.
about a
I
lot
feel
of these
great.
issues.
I
And,
feel
Joe,
great.
I think he said it quite well. He says, foreign policy, it might sound
Ooh.
complicated,
Ooh,
but
the
really
ring
it's
light.
relationships. So just think about it as relationships. And so we know this in our personal and
Really,
professional
just think about it as
relationships. You
relationships.
gotta keep your
Don't
word to
think
your
about it as
friends.
competing spheres of
You gotta be
power.
loyal to
Don't
the
think about it as
people who
political
stood with you. You gotta
economy.
stand with
Don't
them.
think about it as like.
gotta
Don't
know
think about
who
it as
your
anything that
adversaries
matters.
are.
Think about it as
keep them in
your
check.
AIM buddy list.
But
Think
what
about
we're
it as.
seeing
Think about it
is
as
I'm gonna
that.
do the rest of the stream lit like
is
this,
that
like
he
Boris
has
Karloff.
Yeah,
betrayed
Please
our
do,
friends.
Amber.
Yeah.
Amber, that's
I
good.
call this meeting of the Midnight Society.
Think about it as that one friend that you keep.
Let's take, for
Think about the
example,
relationship between U.S. and China as that
So,
one friend you keep texting with.
Russia-
Let's
I
hang
serve on
out
the
sometime,
Intelligence
and
Committee.
keep kicking it down the road. But you're gonna hang out
America's
sometime.
intelligence community
Yeah,
told us
and you know that there's
Russia
like some
interfered in the
countries, and you
election
just
of the
like you see
President of the
them,
United
and they're
States in
just like you're just like
2016 and his plan in 2020.
awkward.
Yeah,
Christopher
that's
Wray,
yeah,
the
it-
director
it's like that.
of the FBI, said the same. But Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief of the United
Yeah,
States
and you
of
remember them
America,
from different
the
eras
first to
too,
take
when
the
you were
word
a
of
different
Vladimir
country, so you
Putin
had a different
over the word of the
relationship.
American
Yeah.
intelligence community.
So it's like, didn't I blow
You look
Taiwan
at
once
our
at a
friends
party?
At NATO. He's walked away from agreements. You can look at the Iran nuclear deal, which now has put us in a position where we are
It's so
less
funny
safe
how like they
because
just
they are
don't
building
like ever
up
like
what might end up being a significant nuclear
it's like she doesn't.
arsenal. We were in that deal, guys. We were
Oh,
in
fuck
the
off.
Iran-nuclear
Are
deal
you
with
fucking
friends, with allies
serious?
around the country.
Go off, Noah.
And because of
No,
Donald
they're
Trump's
just like making this whole
unilateral
fucking like,
approach to
oh,
foreign
well, the
policy,
reason that the deal is
coupled
bad
with
now
his
is because Iran's
isolationism.
gonna like start building a
He
nuke,
pulled us
as
out
if
and
like
has made America less
like
safe.
we're
So,
not like we're
Susan,
literally about
it's
to
about
put crushing
relationships.
sanctions on them
And
tomorrow.
the
They
thing
just
that has
announced
always
today,
been part of
and
the
it's like they're
strength
not
of
going to
our
build a
nation,
fucking
in
nuclear
addition
arsenal.
to
Why
our
does the
great
Democrat
military,
need to say that?
has been that we keep
Like,
our word. But Donald Trump doesn't
in addition to
understand
our great
because
military.
he doesn't
Democrat who
understand
promised to arm
what it
Iran
means
first
to
thing
be
in
honest.
office.
Thank you.
First foreign
Thank you,
trip
Senator Harris.
is a
Vice President,
flotilla
let
of
me give you a
American
chance to
ships
respond.
Well,
taking
thank
a
you.
delightful
Well,
array of
President
our
Trump kept
finest
his word
nuclear
when he moved
products
the
to
American
Iran.
embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of the state of Israel. When Joe Biden was vice president, they
That's
promised
the
to do
thing
that,
is
and
that
they
like
did.
Democrats
Stood
have like
strong
short guy
with our
rage,
allies. But we've been
like
demanding.
they're extra bellicose
NATO is now
because they're
contributing
weak.
more to our common defense than ever before,
Yes,
thanks to
that's
President
true.
Trump's leadership. We've strengthened our alliances across the Asia Pacific, and we've
I'm
stood
liking your
strong
D'Artagnan facial
against
hair
those who
there,
would do
Noah.
us harm. You know, when President Trump came
Thank
into
you.
office,
I decided
ISIS
to.
had captured an
honestly,
area
I decided to go
of the
with
Middle
it
East the
today.
size of
Give it
Pennsylvania.
a
like it.
shot, and I like how
President
it
Trump
looks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Unleashed the American
It's very
military.
Mandy
And our
Patinkin and
armed
the
forces
Princess
destroyed
Bride
the
kind of
ISIS
energy.
caliphate.
Good compliment.
and took down their leader
Ooh,
al-Baghdadi
you,
without
thank
one
you.
American casualty.
Semitic
Al-Baghdadi was
icon. Semitic
That's
responsible
right,
icon.
not a Spaniard.
deaths
Although I
of
guess he could have been
thousands.
like a
minute.
Sephardic Spaniard in that.
but notably
Yeah, he
American
was
Mandy
like
Patinkin's
an
a
expelled
Jew.
Jew.
Yeah.
Her parents
Mandy
today
Patinkin's
showed
here, yeah.
here with us tonight in Salt Lake City.
What?
Mandy
Patinkin.
Today,
Patinkin.
two
Oh, I'm
of
sorry.
the ISIS
I'm
killers
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Matthew. Do you
responsible
have
for
something
Kayla
to
Miller's
contribute? Is there
murder
something you want to say
were brought to justice
about my
in the
people?
United States.
The-
Jihadi John was killed.
He's
in
not
Iraq.
drunk.
Just saying
He's not
he's not
drunk
one
enough
of the
yet.
healthy ones. Not
The
one of the
reality
healthy
is
ones.
that
The
When Joe
the
Biden was
will
vice
to try to
president, we had
make
an
al-Baghdadi into
Save Kayla
into an Osama bin
He was the
Laden
biggest
level,
terrorist ever.
The military came into the Oval
when
Office,
nobody had
presented a
literally
plan.
ever heard of that guy
Said they knew what
before they
Kayla
murked
was.
him.
No,
very
they're-
funny.
Held it for
quit
18
trying to
months.
make
That's
him
what
happen.
Soleimani-
Quit
Yeah.
trying to make that happen.
Well, they
No,
just
it's not gonna
don't.
happen.
What they don't
Well,
want
at
you to
least
know
Soleimani
about.
had like
Joe Biden was vice
energy, you
president.
know.
What they don't want you to know about.
Or no,
was
Soleimani.
real
That,
name,
sorry.
went
which
in.
was
It
Abu
was clear she'd been
Barstool
moved 2 days
al-Baghdadi.
earlier. And her family says with a heart that broke the heart of every American that if President
Yeah,
Donald Trump
Sports
had been president,
is
they believe
mostly
Kayla would be alive
exists
today.
to
Thank you,
funnel
Vice
money
But we
to
destroyed
Islamic
the
Jihad.
ISIS
I thought that was
caliphate.
well known.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like
We talk about
Hobby
greenlighting
Lobby was
the
funding
Iran
ISIS.
nuclear deal.
It's the same.
That
thing
is
with
a very
the
funny
sex
story.
export.
Transferred $1.8
It's
billion
there's
to the
it's the
leading
subject
state
of Blowback
sponsors
season
Thank you,
2.
Vice
of
President.
terrorism.
Just
President
kidding,
Donald
just
Trump
kidding.
got us out of the
Thank you,
deal.
Vice President.
It would be very
And
funny
when
if
Qasem
between
Soleimani
Or no,
was
it's
traveling
caliphate.
to Baghdad.
if
Thank you,
between
Armed
I'm
bin
racist, but
Laden
that
President
edible is
Donald
kicked
Trump
in.
took
Thank you, Vice
Sorry.
President Pence.
And
if
America
between bin
is
Laden
safer,
and
our
Soleimani,
allies
if it
are
became like a
safer. The
benchmark
American
of any
know
successful
President Donald Trump would
administration
never
that
Thank you,
you
Vice
just have to
President.
murk
Take action.
I would
like
like to give
a
Senator
top
Harris
tier
a
guy
chance to
just to
respond,
like
but not at
prove that
such
you're
great
on the
length,
board.
Because of course there are other
Gotta
topics
murk
we wanna
somebody.
talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Got all these this
First
murking
of all, to
equipment
the
sitting
Mueller
around.
family, I know about your daughters.
We need a
case,
new
and
deck,
I'm so
like
sorry.
the deck of
I'm so
cards of
sorry.
Al Qaeda
Oh,
guys
yeah,
happened to
those
her
were
is
fun.
Awful.
that let people know
playing
who
cards?
the targets were. We need a new one for.
And I know
the-
Yeah.
Is your
We
guys'
couldn't- we
definition of
And I know
American
that
leadership?
President Obama feels the same way.
What does American
couldn't,
leadership mean to you guys?
Wait, was that the
Get
question?
enough people,
But you
get
mentioned
enough people
Soleimani.
that spoke
Let's
like
start there.
Pashtun or
So,
any of the
after
local
the strike on
languages, but we're
Soleimani,
like, what if we gave them
there
an
was a
old
counter
maid with
strike
all the kill this
on our
guy
troops in
like
Iraq.
deck on them? It's fucking insane.
And
mean,
All right, I
It
would
was
kind of like to.
fun.
I would like to hear
they
her
suffered
answer to what
serious brain
American
injuries.
leadership.
And do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as?
Yeah, it's a
Headaches.
beauty contest though.
And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump's. where
This
he
is a
has
beauty contest
referred
question. What does
to
American
our
leadership mean
men
to
who
you,
are
Miss
serving
South
in our
Carolina?
military as suckers and losers. Donald Trump, who went to Arlington Cemetery and stood above the graves of our fallen heroes
Of World War One.
and
Come
said,
on.
"What is
Waving
it
the
for
bloody
them?"
shirt.
Because of course, he only thinks about what's in it for him. Let's take.
Can only wave the
what he
bloody
said
shirt
about
if you're not
John
the one who
McCain.
made it bleed. But these are all guys
great
who we have fed into a
American
colonial
hero.
fucking meat grinder.
And Donald Trump says he doesn't deserve to be called a hero because he was a prisoner of war. And this is very important when you want
John
to talk
McCain
about
doesn't
who
deserve
is
to
the
be called
current
a
commander-in-chief
hero because he shouldn't
and
have been
what
allowed
they
to be a
care about
pilot
and what
because he
they
kept
don't care
crashing
about.
planes.
He was a
reported
fail
that
son.
Russia had
Only
bounties
kept
He
getting
was-
chances
he
'cause
became
his
a-
dad was
he
a
became a-
fucking
he was a-
admiral.
soldiers.
He
And
was
you
a
know what a
POW
bounty
because
is?
it was
If
entirely his own
somebody
fault.
puts a
Read Tim
price on your
Dickinson's
head
2008
and they will
profile
pay
in
it
Rolling
if you are
Stone.
killed.
It has all the
And
dish.
Donald Trump had talked at least 6 times.
John McCain's a
I
fraud.
love a little bit of McCain goss.
And never brought up the subject. Joe Biden would never
The
do that.
motherfucker couldn't
Joe
fly a
Biden
plane.
would, but Joe
Guy was
Biden
one
His
of the most
fault. His
effective
fault.
assets the
Russia
Viet Cong
to
had.
account for any
Like-
threat.
Guy destroyed more
to our
fucking
nation's
American
security
military
or to our
hardware than like a
troops
fucking
who are
entire North
sacrificing
Vietnamese
their
aircraft
lives
battery.
for the sake of
Well,
Well,
our
he was
military.
he was
Thank you,
embedded. That's the
Senator
thing.
Harris.
He
This
was
is
a
such an
Maoist
important
at that
issue, but
point
we
in
have
his life.
other important issues as well, and I
Susan,
want to
I-
This
make
is Trump,
sure
who
we have
apparently
time
is
to
under
talk
infected.
about it.
Trump has apparently infected the
She
entire
has
Joint
15
Chiefs of
seconds
Staff.
because
Well, I got to
That
go.
rounds.
He was always a third
I'm sorry,
world's mole.
Vice President,
Look,
you
yes.
had
Yeah,
more
yeah.
time than she's had.
Trump
so
might be
far.
end up
Sanders
being the
against
most
President Donald
Antifa
Trump
American citizen there
regarding
is.
men and women of our armed forces are absurd.
Donald Trump
I'm sorry,
loves
Vice
My
President
son is
Pence.
a captain
He
in the
wants to
United
kiss
States
them all.
Marine Corps. My son-in-law is deployed.
See,
in
here's
the
all he
United
can do.
States
This is his
Marine
only
Corps.
move. High
I can assure all
dudgeon
of you,
and whining
his
about
sons
being
and daughters
treated
serving in the
unfairly.
military.
And how dare
President
you?
Donald Trump not only
He is the
respects, but
Democrat. He
reveres
has that
all of
Democrat
those
thing
that
where
serve
all
in
he
our
can do
armed
is
forces.
feel
Any
aggrieved
You're
on
being mean
someone's
to me,
behalf.
Mommy.
Thank you, Vice
They're being
President
mean
Pence.
to me.
Vice
American
President
people
You know
Pence,
the
deserve,
reason
Susan,
Vice
the American
President
people
Pence, I
deserve to
didn't,
know.
Vice President
that-
Pence, I did not, excuse
the
me,
Amer- Susan, the
I did
American
not
people
create
deserve
the
to know
rules for tonight.
Joe Biden
Your
and Trump-
campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's debate with the Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm here to enforce them, which
Enforce
involves
those rules.
moving from one
She-
topic
I like
to
this-
another,
yeah, she's
giving
explaining
roughly
her
equal
job
time to
that
both
she's
of
not
you,
doing
which
well.
is what I'm trying very hard to do.
Go right ahead.
So I want to go
doesn't matter
ahead
anyway,
and
'cause
move
it's a
to
fake
the
job.
next topic, which is an important one,
Well,
as the
thing is
last
fake as
topic
shit.
was, and that is the Supreme Court.
Oh.
On Monday,
The
the
Supreme
Senate
Court.
Judiciary Committee is scheduled to open hearings on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court.
Amy
Senator
Cohen-
Harris,
Cohen
you'll be there
brothers.
as a member of the committee. Her confirmation would cement the court's
Amy
conservative
Harkonnen.
majority and make it likely open to more abortion restrictions, even
There
to
we go.
overturning the landmark
I
Roe v.
got
Wade
there.
ruling. Access to
My favorite
abortion
is still
would
one
then
from
be up to
the chat
states.
in a stream that said
Vice
Amy
President
Kevin
Pence,
Garnett.
you're the former
That's a
governor
very
of
good one.
Indiana. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want
I will come
Indiana
a
to
gallon.
do? Would you want your
That's what will
state
happen if Roe
to
versus
ban
Wade is overturned.
all
I
abortion?
will be
In
dehydrated from
820,
ejaculation.
a Safdie
you
Brothers
for the
movie
question,
about a
but
Jewish
I'll use a
diamond
little bit of my
dealer
time to
who
respond.
loans out a black opal to a certain
people deserve
Supreme
to know.
Court nominee.
Soleimani, the Iranian general, was responsible.
And he has to get
you
it.
wanna win,
Hundreds
you want to win
of
50,
American service
51,
members.
49, and 100 to
When the
fucking
opportunity
0.
came, we saw him
I'm
head to
sorry.
Baghdad
Do you want a
and kill
5-4?
more
You want an 8?
Americans.
Or you want an
President
8-1?
Trump didn't hesitate, and Qasem Soleimani is gone. But you
Uh,
deserve
Arthur
one to
Conan
Joe
Doyle.
Biden.
Soleimani
That's
now?
also very good.
And Kamala Harris
That's very good.
actually criticized the decision to take out
Soleimani.
Qasem.
Oh, yeah.
Soleimani.
People are
Vice
definitely.
President Pence, the question was about the
That she
Supreme
wasn't happy
Court. Why are you
enough
talking
killing
about
this guy no one ever heard of?
Because history records that Joe Biden actually opposed the
Yeah,
raid
literally
against
no
Osama
one
bin
heard of
Laden.
him until. I
It's
mean, they do this all the
absolutely
time. They
essential
actually literally did it,
that we
I
have a
believe, with
commander-in-chief
RBG, where it's
who
like,
will not
do you think the
hesitate to
RBG
act to
people
protect
can name
American
all
lives
of the
and
other
to
Supreme
protect
Court
American
justices?
service members, and that's what you have in President
Some
Donald
of
Trump.
them.
Now, with regard,
They know
to
the one
Supreme
that she
Court of
goes to the
United
opera
States,
with because they
let
watched
me
the
say President Trump
documentary.
and I could not be more enthusiastic about
They
the
probably don't
opportunity
know
to
who
see
Stephen
Judge
Breyer
Amy
is, I
Coney
would say.
become justice.
Would not be
on
able
the
to pick him out of a lineup.
He
she's
set
a
himself on
brilliant
fire
woman,
smoking crack. Did you know
and,
that?
she will bring a lifetime of experience and
No,
Stephen
one got
Breyer?
that. No one got that. No.
to the
It was a
Supreme Court of
Richard
the
Christ,
United
Pryor
I
States.
get it.
joke. Yeah.
And our hope
yes,
is, in the
that's a good
hearing
one.
next week, unlike Justice Kavanaugh received with treatment from you and others, we hope she gets a fair hearing. And we particularly
don't
hope
see
that
the-
we
what?
don't see
What
the
was
kind
that?
of attacks on her Christian faith that
the
we saw
Christian faith.
before.
Oh,
This
attack
wine-
the
Christian
Democratic
faith.
chairman of the Judiciary
You guys spent
Yeah.
the last
Court
4 years being like, facts,
when
we're
Judge
dabbing
Barrett was
on
being
you, fuck
confirmed for the
liberal
Court of
tears,
Appeals,
we're in charge,
expressed
suck our
concern
dick,
that
and
the
now you're
dogma of
being
her
mean to
faith lived
Christian.
loudly in
Joe
her.
Biden was literally a
The Durban of
Catholic.
Illinois
What are
said
they?
that it was a concern.
These
Senator, I know one of our judicial nominees,
this
you
Catholic
actually
Party's
attacked
anti-Catholic
because they were a member
attacks.
of the Catholic Knights of Columbus,
Biden's not Catholic, though.
Columbus
When was the last time the Knights of Columbus were
Thank you,
mentioned in
Vice
a
President.
So
presidential
time
my
is
hope
debate?
is that when the hearing
I mean,
takes
I
place,
just
that
love
Thank you,
how
Vice
it's
The
President.
like.
Knights of
Judge
Columbus
Amy Coney
were real
Barrett
head
will be
breakers.
respectfully
Vice President
respectfully
Pence.
voted
You
in
remember-
I dare you to do the rest of that monologue.
Senator Harris, you're
Trump,
the
the
senator
Trump
from
Bible,
and former Attorney General
you
of
guys-
California.
you
So let
people
me
love
ask you
this
a
stuff,
parallel
huh?
question to the one I posed to the
You
Vice
like
President.
the shit, huh? You be Christian.
If
you
Roe
love the
v.
Christian.
Wade is
You
overturned,
love the Bible.
what would
you
you
love
want
it.
California
Yeah,
to do? Would you
it's
want your
good.
home
Okay,
state to
look,
enact
I think
no
one of the best.
restrictions on access to
shit.
abortion? And you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you.
They're going to
Susan. First
accuse
of all,
Joe
and I
Biden
are
of being
both
like the
people of
Pope
faith.
in
That's not my
Avignon
phone.
for
it's
his
insulting
opposition to
suggest
Amy Kobe
that we
Bryant.
would knock anyone for their faith.
Oh, yeah, he is
And in
he
fact,
is an
Joe,
anti-pope.
if elected, will
He's
be only
an
the
apostate.
second.
No,
When really she
Joe
is
Biden's not Catholic.
when really
as
she is
president
part
of the
of the
United States.
anti-papist
On the
sect.
issue of
She is
this-
less of a
this
true Catholic than
nomination.
Joe Biden is.
Joe and
Joe
I
Biden
are
is
very
not a
clear, as are
Catholic
the
any more
majority
than
of the
any of
American
these people have religion. They are
We
all
are
worshippers of
27
Moloch.
days before the decision about who.
I mean,
would
I'm
be
not kidding. They
president
worship
of the United
Moloch.
States.
Like, you don't think Joe Biden
And
thinks
you
of
know,
himself
before
as
when
a
this
dutiful
conversation has
minion
come
of
up,
Moloch?
it's been about election year.
Guy has
or
spent his
election
entire
time.
career driving in a
We're
little train
literally
back and
in
forth
an
from
election.
Delaware to D.C. to do the bidding
Over
of
4
fucking
million
the
people have
fire
voted.
sector and insurance companies.
People are in the
the
process of
Sauron
voting
eye
right now.
of accumulation.
And so Joe
that,
has been
is
very
headquartered in
clear,
Delaware.
as the American people are.
He's
Let
like
the
a
American
Zorg
people
in fucking
fill that
the
seat
Fifth
in the White
Element with the
House,
blood running down
and
his
then we'll
forehead.
fill that seat on the United States Supreme Court. And to your point,
Yes.
Susan,
I mean,
the issues
I guess
before us
part of
couldn't
what
be more
feels so
serious.
funny is
There's
that
the
it's
issue
also
of
like
choice,
he's
and
got to
I will
know that
always
like
fight
this is
for
the
a
top
woman's
for
right
him.
to make a
There is
decision
no
about her
future
own
in like
body.
national
It should be
like
her decision
he's not
and
going to be
not
Pence
president.
isn't going to be the
Like,
guy.
The vice
I
president,
can't think of a
Michael
less
Pence. But let's
consequential
also look at what else
VP
is
in
before
recent history
the
than
court.
this motherfucker.
It's the Affordable
It
Care
is very
Act.
funny to imagine
Literally in
Barador
the midst of a public health
centered
pandemic,
in Wilmington, Delaware.
when over 210,000 people have died and 7 million people
Are we back on COVID?
probably have what will be in the future considered
Yeah, we're
a
back to COVID, which
pre-existing
is a smart
condition
move on her
because
part. Hey, remember
you
how everyone's
contracted
dead?
the virus. Donald Trump is in court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I said
There was
it
in
before, and it bears
1996. There was an
repeating.
SNL sketch where
This
the joke
means
was
that there
Bob
will
Dole
be
was
no
running
more
against Bill
protections if they
Pullman
win
for re-election
for
after the
existing
events of
conditions.
Independence Day
This
happened.
means
And it was a
that over
debate in
2
the aftermath
people
of the
will
movie
lose your
Independence Day.
coverage.
And
It
at
means
one
that
point,
if you're under the age of 26,
President Bill Pullman
you
says
can't
the
stay on
average
your
American
parents'
thinks that
coverage
we did a
anymore.
great job or whatever.
And here's the thing.
uh,
The contrast couldn't be more
Norm
clear.
Macdonald's
They're
Bob Dole
trying to get
replies,
rid of the
"The average
Affordable Care
American's
Act.
dead."
Joe Biden is saying, let's expand coverage. Let's give you a
Think about
choice
that.
of a public
Thank you.
option
Every
or
one of
private
these
coverage.
debates.
Let's bring
The
down
corona
premiums.
world.
Thank you, Senator
Let's
Harris.
lower Medicare eligibility to 60.
Thank you, Senator.
That's true.
Lowering
leadership.
Medicare
You know,
eligibility is a terrible
You
idea. Don't do
mentioned,
that.
Earlier, Vice
Oh,
President
don't
Pence
lower
said the
Medicare
president was committed
eligibility.
to maintain
Just going to take that many more
protections
people
for
out of the
with
political
conditions.
arena.
But you
that
have
many
this
more
court
people are
case
not
that you
going
are
to care
supporting, your
anymore about health
administration
care
supported,
now.
that would strike down the Affordable
Okay,
Care.
how's that?
The president
I mean, it's
says,
also,
President
like,
Trump
are you
says
back?
that he's going to protect people.
Part of
Yeah.
what's like
with
so
pre-existing
funny is that
conditions,
it's
but
like
he has
no
not
video though.
explained
Oh, here it is.
How
Boom.
There
he
you
would
are.
do that.
It
It
And
doesn't
that was one
resolve.
of the
It
toughest
doesn't
nuts to
resolve
crack
like the
when they were
political
passing the
problem,
Affordable
which
Care
is that
Act. So
like
tell us
all the people who
specifically,
are
how would
uninsured
your
in the most dramatic ways aren't
protect
even at like
Americans with
55 to
pre-existing
60.
conditions
It's
have
the people who are
access
like
to
way
affordable
younger.
insurance if the
Like
Affordable Care Act
it
is
just
struck down?
it just the logic of
Well,
that. It
thank
just
you,
feels
Susan.
very
Let-
I don't know
let
like
me just
feels very
say,
Democrat
addressing your
brain.
very first question.
It's also, it hurts them. It's like the
couldn't
more
be
people
more
are
proud
covered
of
by
the
our
President
health, our
President
socialist
stands
health
without
care,
apology
the
for the
less
sanctity
health care
of the
becomes
Union.
a winning Democratic
I'm
issue.
pro-life.
Well, and
It's their card to play.
Democrats
It's
win
their
on
thing to
health
dangle.
care
This is another one of
by
those cases where there's such a
by
dramatic
triangulating between the
contrast.
market and the Republicans.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris
And-
support
and
taxpayer
There are
funding
difficulty
abortion
with old
all the
people is
way
that
up
those
to the
people
moment of
take
birth.
for granted their
Late-term
socialized
abortion. They want
medicine.
increased
Not
funding
to
for
say
You don't want to
nothing of-
increase the number of
of
people who
America.
have that,
Now, for our
because
part,
then they're
I
just
would
going to be
never
more
presume on
Republican and more
judging the
reactionary.
conduct
To say nothing of the
rule
fact
give a
that
shit.
already the people
of
who
the
are like
United
you're
States,
most
but,
engaged or not. Like you're just
we'll
turning
continue to
away and
stand strong
alienating
for
already the
Kamala.
people that you can't
When
afford
you
to.
speak about the
Like,
Supreme Court,
I
though,
guess
think the
part
American
it's
people really deserve an
it
answer.
does sound though like it's so funny because I'm
Are you
sure
and
the
Joe
media
Biden
will just
gonna
frame
pack
it as
the
a
court
concession
if Judge
instead
Amy
of
Coney
like
Barrett is
like a
confirmed?
runaround.
There
Are
have
you
been
and Joe-
29 vacancies on the Supreme Court during presidential election years, from George Washington to Barack Obama. Presidents have nominated in all 29
Do not say
cases.
Barsacco Crumbo.
But your party is
down.
actually openly
Say it.
advocating adding
Do
seats
it.
to the Supreme
Say it.
Court, which has had 9 seats
You
for
pussy.
150 years. if you don't get your way. This is a classic case of if you can't win by the rules, you're going to change the rules. Now, you've refused to answer the question. Joe
You
Biden
changed the
has
rules
refused
last
to
time,
answer the
motherfucker.
question. So I think the
Literally
American people
politics.
would
That's
really
how it
like
works,
to
baby.
know.
Are you
know
going
it.
to assert
Any
power
county
if you
from
win
the
it?
Supreme Court of the United
Yeah.
States.
Changing
Or you
the
or Joe
rules
Biden,
is
if
what you
somehow
do
win
when you
this
have
election,
power.
you're going to
That's part of
pack
power.
the Supreme
is
Court to
determining
get
what
your
the
way.
rules are. The rules are
I'm
not
so glad we
constant.
went
The rules
through a little
are
history
dependent
lesson.
on
Let's
who
do
is
that
in power.
rules.
to make
It's
the
I
rules.
am the captain now.
In
That's what
1860
politics
I
is.
want you to answer
now.
that.
The
Oh,
rules
she
are
has history
President.
too. Oh, wait. I want to hear her lesson. Wait.
Okay. In
rules are
1864,
the-
She looks way excited right
one
now.
of
Mass-
the,
Disgusting.
I think,
Oh,
political
wow.
heroes,
She
certainly
is-
the president,
she is like,
I assume if he was also Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was up for re-election. And it was 27 days before the election. And a seat became open on the
You know what
United States
Abraham Lincoln
Supreme
did?
Abraham
Tried
Lincoln's party
to
was in
form a
charge, not only of the
republic
White
and
House, but
obliterate
the Senate.
states' rights.
But Honest Abe
That was cool.
said it's not the right thing to do. The American people
Why didn't
Owned.
they get rid of
deserve to make
Owned
the
by
decision
Abraham Lincoln.
about who will be the next president of the United States. And then that person can select who
Lincoln
will
did
serve
add
for
a seat to
lifetime.
the Supreme Court. That is
On
true.
the highest
And he
court
also did
of
tell the
our
Supreme
land.
Court to fuck off.
And so Joe
explicitly.
and I are
He
very
told the Taney Court,
The
yeah,
American
okay,
people
you can
are
rule on my ball
voting
sack.
right now.
So
And it should
she's
be
actually
their
she's
decision
spitting some Matt
about who will
Carp shit right now.
serve on this most important body for a lifetime.
That Abe was
Thank
me.
you,
In
Senator
the
Harris.
decision of voting right now,
that
they'd
was
like
from the
to know
chat.
if you and Joe Biden are
I
going
saw that.
to
That's very funny.
pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Whiny bitch.
People deserve straight answers. And if you haven't figured it out
Shut
yet, the
up,
straight
you
answer
fucking
is they
whiny
are
hoe.
going to pack the Supreme Court if they somehow win this election.
I'm going to bring up the
Men and
shrunken
women,
head,
I
shrunken
got
head
to tell
guy
you, people
again.
across
straight
this country,
answer
if
is
you
that-
cherish our Supreme Court, if you cherish the separation of powers, you need to reject the Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald Trump. And stand by that separation of powers in a 9-seat.
I like her.
Yeah,
I like
let's
her
talk
terse
about
face
packing the
though.
court then. Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about
It's very
to.
angry, sexy librarian from an Adam Ant video.
So, the Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed
Don't like that.
the appointments for lifetime appointments. to
Blow
the
your
federal courts,
nose.
district courts,
Well,
courts
Get
of
some
appeals.
floating.
seriously, she's mean
People
as a
who
kid.
are purely ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent are substandard.
No.
And
One
do
thing
you
that voters
know
love is
that
legal
of the
professional
50
organizations.
people who
I know who she is.
President
Back
Trump
when I think in the
appointed
last
to
gasp
Court
of
Appeals
any
for lifetime appointments, not one is black.
any
This is
hell yeah.
what they've been
a
doing. You
good
wanna talk about
SNL or
packing the court?
SNL
Let's have that
sketch or
discussion.
character that I
All
followed
right, thank you.
was
Thank you, Senator. Let's go on
Cecily,
and talk
what's
about
her name,
the
doing
issue of
the drunk girl you wish you hadn't run
racial
into
I
at a
just want
party.
the record to reflect she never answered.
Is that her?
That's it.
So I think
It's,
maybe the
it's
next
about
debate, Joe Biden
society.
will answer the question.
Thank
But I
you.
think the
Society.
I can
Thank you,
very
Vice
easily see Kamala as that with plus
In March,
2.5
Breonna Taylor, a
drinks.
26-year-old emergency room technician in
Well, I
Louisville,
mean, when
was
you're
shot and killed
mixing
after police
benzodiazepines.
officers
I mean,
executing a search
the
warrant
line
on a
between
narcotics
that,
investigation
her
broke into her
in
apartment.
professional mode
wait,
and
one
her.
sec.
The police said
I want to
they
see.
identified themselves.
I want to see how
Taylor's boyfriend said he
they
didn't hear
do
them
this.
do that. He used a gun registered to him to fire a shot, which wounded an officer. The officers then fired more than 20 rounds into the apartment. They say they were acting in self-defense. None of them have been indicted in connection with her death. Senator Harris,
This is such a
in the
fucked up
case of Breonna
explanation of what
Taylor,
happened.
was justice done? You have 2 minutes.
I don't believe so. And I've talked with Breonna's mother, Tamika Palmer, and her family. And her family deserves justice. She was a beautiful young woman. She had as her life goal to become a nurse, and she wanted to become an EMT to first learn what's going on out on the street.
What is
so
what is she
could then
saying?
Become a nurse and save lives. And her life was taken.
This is like a school principal giving a
Unjustifiably and
eulogy for a
tragically
kid who
and
wrapped a car around a
Yes.
tree.
And it brings me to
I saw one of these every year, like growing
8
up in high
minutes and
school. when
46
a
seconds
different
that America
student would get
witnessed,
wasted and hit the one tree in an
during
empty
which
field.
an American man was tortured.
Just
and
Midwest
killed
things, folks.
under the knee of an armed, uniformed police officer. And people around our country of every race, of every age, of every gender, perfect strangers to each other, marched shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, fighting for us to finally achieve that ideal of equal justice under law. And I was a part of
And
those
I was that
peaceful
cop
protests.
that murdered Breonna.
And I believe strongly that, first of all, we are never going to condone violence, but we always must fight for the values that we hold dear, including the fight to achieve our ideals. And that's why Joe Biden and I have said on this subject, look, and I'm a former career prosecutor. I know what I'm talking about. Bad cops are bad for good cops. We need reform of our policing in America and our criminal justice system, which is why Joe and
Man,
I
that was like
will
honestly such an elegiac
ban chokeholds
start,
and
but
karate
woof,
holds.
what a pivot
George
there.
Floyd would be alive today if we did that. We will require a national registry for police officers who break the law. We will, on the issue of criminal justice reform,
Look, who Kamala is the Kamala?
private prisons and cash bail, and we will decriminalize marijuana, and
Thank you, Senator Harris.
we will expunge the records of those who have
Thank you,
been
Senator
convicted
Harris.
of marijuana. This is
Thank
a
you,
time
Senator
for
Harris.
leadership on a tragic issue.
It's a time
Harris,
to.
unarmed black
I'll tell you what time it is.
people in
Thank you,
4:20.
Vice President Pence, let me pose the same
They
question
both have
to
that
you.
same
In the case of
politician
Breonna
thing where they
Taylor,
just you start the
justice
thing and
done?
they have their
You have
spiel
2
that they
minutes,
go
uninterrupted.
into, and the interruption isn't as much as
Well, our
like
heart
trying to
breaks
dom the other person, but
lost
just
an
having
innocent-
your talking
any
point
innocent American
spool
life.
out, and you can't stop it
Breonna
once you
Taylor
get to the
has our
end.
sympathies. But I trust our justice system, a grand jury that refused the evidence. And it really is remarkable that as
Chris,
a
why do
former
you think that is,
prosecutor,
though? Do you think
you would
she's
assume that an
trying to?
impaneled
Do you think she's
grand jury looking
underprepared
at all
and
the
trying
evidence
to
got it
speak
wrong?
extemporaneously,
You're entitled to your
or
opinion, Senator.
does she just forget her talking
with
points?
regard to
Or is
George
she
Floyd,
like,
there's
you know
no
what? I'm
excuse for
just
what
like, I
happened to George
took
Floyd.
3 classes at
Justice will
UCB.
be
I'm just
served.
gonna wing it.
But there's also no excuse
I can't
for the
tell.
rioting.
I,
and
She
I
doesn't look
honestly
that
don't
trained.
know.
that followed.
It's a combination of,
mean,
of being
it
able
really
to
is
talk as
astonishing. Flora
extemporaneously
Westbrook
at that
is with us
level
here
of
tonight in Salt Lake
politics
City. This few weeks ago, I
and
stood at
trying to
what
dominate your
used to
time
be
here and having your pre-written
salon
things like
was burned
it's
to the
speaking
ground
extemporaneously, but with
by
only a
rioters and
certain
looters.
number of lines that you
Flora is
have.
still
So once you
trying to
hit
get
on
her
one,
life
you have
back
to just
together.
keep going through it.
And I must tell you,
Right,
this,
but I actually think that that's a
this
good strategy, and
presumption
she fucks it
that
up
you
all
hear
the time. Like,
consistently,
that's what Bernie did.
from
He's
Joe
like, I tell
Biden
you,
and Kamala Harris,
those are some beautiful
that,
large titties, but you know what else
that
should be
America's
large?
systemically
Healthcare.
racist.
Like, he was a master
But
of
as Joe
that,
Biden
and she
said, that
doesn't.
he believes
She just
that
kind of
law
wanders
enforcement has
around.
an
You know what?
implicit
She's more of a Felix.
bias against minorities is a great insult
Great
to the men and women who
Oh, he has a
serve
fly on his head! Oh my God!
this is
He has a
bug.
fly on his head. He has a bug crawling on his head. He's crawling with flies.
Oh my god.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's crawling on his hair and he doesn't even know. Oh my God! He's Damien.
Senator Harris
Ah, yes.
got up and walked
Oh, he's
Tim Scott.
Do you know why, though?
That would have provided
He is
numerous
Damien.
ability, numerous
Because
resources.
he's a
But we
rotting
don't have
fruit.
to choose between
Yes.
supporting law enforcement,
Is a
improving public
rotting
safety, and
pumpkin.
supporting our African American neighbors.
No one got the latent homophobia in that,
Under
but
President
you know,
Trump's leadership,
it works
we
both
will
ways.
stand
Rotting
with
fruit.
law
Oh, there we
enforcement
go.
And we'll do.
I mean, I know that
Thank
it's
you.
problematic to
The
say that
lives of
people are
African
homophobic
Americans.
because
Thank
they're
you,
gay.
Vice
And
President.
yes, a lot of people who hate gay
record
people are not
investments in
gay.
education,
But
But some
and
of them
fight for
are,
school
and Mike
choice
Pence
for
is one
all
of them. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Vice
and it was an open
Senator
secret
Harris.
before he
I
ever
will
reached the
not sit here
national
and be
stage.
lectured by the
Sorry.
Vice President.
He
what it
lost the
means
debate the moment
to
that he had
enforce the laws of our
a
country.
fly
I'm the only
on
one
his
on this
head
stage.
for
Pestilence.
more
Yeah.
than a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything from
That was
child
biblical,
sexual assault
totally.
to
It
homicide.
is. It's still there. Oh my God,
I'm the
it's so
only
good.
one on this stage was prosecuted.
It's
the
like,
Big
you know
Bang
what?
still
This,
there,
this
man.
is
It's
fine.
America's
This is
there.
fine.
I'm the only
It'll
one on
be
this
dead
stage
in 5 minutes. There's going to be like a vulture that just perches on his fucking,
Like,
you know,
he's gonna get a-
dais and
And the
just
reality of this
when he
is
gets off, like
that
Trump is
we
gonna
are
call him, like,
talking
listen,
about an
you didn't know
election
that there was a fly in your head, you
27
stupid
where
fucking
last
pussy.
week
What are you
the
even good
President of
for?
the United
Why did I
States
make
took a
you?
debate
Why did I
stage in
make
front
you?
of
Dude, he
70
looks like
million
shit.
Americans
Go away.
Look at him. He looks
and
terrible.
refused to condemn white supremacists.
He's got a fly in his
And-
head.
Boring.
If I were up there,
wasn't like he didn't have a
there wouldn't be a
chance.
fly. I'd tell that fly, shoot
didn't
fly,
do it,
don't
and then he
bother me,
doubled
okay?
down.
That's what I would say. That's
And
what I
then
would
he
do.
said, when
he would
pressed,
slap the fly and tell him to put on a
stand
suit.
back, stand by. And this is a part.
I don't
of
even
a
know what they're talking about
pattern
anymore.
of Donald
No,
Trump.
Still
the fly.
there.
He was
There.
gonna
Goodbye.
weird thing is,
Goodbye. Bye bye. Bye bye.
When
Fly.
I first saw the fly, I
instituted
thought
as
it
his
was like
first
maybe a
act
knot
Muslim
on my
ban.
computer
On
screen.
the issue of Charlottesville.
It was a very Trump
where
Louis
people
moment.
were
Trump Louis.
peacefully protesting.
So this is it. This is the
The need
debate.
for
A
racial
fly landed
justice,
on
where a
Pence.
young
That's all
woman
anyone
was
will
killed.
remember. He is a
And on the
literal
other
corpse.
side,
The
there were
debate is over. He
neo-Nazis
lost.
carrying
Yes.
tiki torches,
He's a rotting corpse.
shouting
And not
in a
racial
metal
way.
epithets,
It's a rotting ass
anti-Semitic
corpse.
slurs.
No, he looks like that
And
corpse
Donald
they
Trump,
strapped
when
to the
asked about
board
it,
and
said
talked to in Return of the
There
Living
were fine
Dead.
people on both sides.
that
This is
too.
who we have as the president. of
Twitter
the
right
United
now.
States of America.
Twitter right now
He
is
deserves better.
entirely.
Eye
Biden
sockets.
will be
It's
a
all
president
flies.
who
It's
brings
fly-
our
it's-
country
it's wall-to-wall
together
fly
and-
shit.
and
This rocks.
recognizes
Yeah.
the beauty
Oh,
in our
you
diversity.
lost.
This fly still there?
You got
We all
owned.
have
Thank
so
you.
much more in common than
Motherfucker,
what
you got
separates us.
owned
Vice
by an
President Pence, let me
insect.
give you a minute.
Got owned by an insect,
you, Susan.
sir.
Appreciate
Good
that
day,
very much.
sir.
You're
I
gone.
think this
Any
is
of
one
your
the things
ambitions
that, makes
destroyed.
people dislike the media so much in this country, Susan.
Is it because
You
they produce such
selectively-
films as
Senator
1986's The
did.
Fly?
Comments that President Trump and I and others on our side of the aisle.
I actually don't know if 1986 was the year
Senator
that The
Harris
Fly came out. It
conveniently
seemed
admitted
right.
after,
You know
after
what?
the president
That
made
sounds
comments
right.
about people
It was
on
Pete
either
Goldblum, I
side
know
of
that.
the debate over
I think it was
monuments.
closer to 90. But
He
I can
90,
condemned
like 88,
the
89, something like
KKK,
that.
neo-Nazis,
Yeah.
and white supremacists.
Did he?
And has done so repeatedly.
Now look,
You know, Chris, I was going to say, look, no one's going to fact
President-
check you, but they will.
President Trump has
my
Jewish
president
grandchildren.
condemned. My
His daughter
president
and son-in-law
condemned
are
the
Jewish.
KKK.
This
After
is a
we asked
president
him.
who respects and cherishes all of the American people. But you talk about having personally prosecuted. I'm glad you brought up the records.
He has
Thank you.
Jewish. He has Jewish
I really need to
grandchildren.
make this
Trump, who
point.
I'm sure loves
When
his
you were
grandchildren.
DA
Right.
in San
At least
Diego,
as much as he loves
you
his
And
were-
can
children.
definitely name all of them.
African Americans were 19 times more
okay.
likely to be
Yeah. So
prosecuted.
speaking
for
of
minor
We said that in the
names-
last
offenses
debate how
than
funny it
whites
would
and
be if
Hispanics.
they
When you
just
were Attorney
asked
General of
Trump and
California,
Biden to
you
name all of their
increased
grandchildren. We'll see how that would
I
work.
have good goss.
incarceration
I
of
have
blacks
good
in
goss.
California. You did nothing on
So,
criminal
Spill the
justice
tea
in
then.
I'm here.
California. You didn't lift a finger to
Ivanka's,
pass the
you know
First
that
Step Act
all
on
of
Capitol Hill.
Ivanka's children are
the
named after
reality is
Kennedys,
your
right?
record
Thank
speaks
you,
for
Vice
itself.
President.
President
What?
Did not
Trump
know
and I
that.
have
What are
fought
their names?
No way.
for criminal
I don't
justice
know.
reform.
Thank you, Vice President.
But they're
fought
named
for
after
education
Kennedys.
What are their
and
names?
By the way,
opportunities for
not
African
Jewish
Americans,
names.
all of our
Thank you,
I know
sir.
the
And we'll
youngest
do it for
one
4
Thank you.
is named
there's no more
Arabella,
important
which,
issue
by the
than
way,
final issue
was
that
not
we're
a
going to talk
living
about
Kennedy,
tonight, and
but
that
a
is the issue of the
JFK
election
and Jackie's
itself.
stillborn
I
baby.
would like an opportunity.
The other
Let me give
two
you
are
30
Theodore
seconds.
James
Because
and
we're running out of
Joseph
time.
I
Frederick.
appreciate that.
Joseph and Theodore are the
First
two
of
boys,
all,
and Arabella.
Having served as the Attorney General
Arabella
of the
was a
state of California,
stillborn
the work
baby.
that I do
That's
is a
what
model of
freaks.
what our
They're
nation needs to
literally, you know
do,
what they're doing?
and we
They're
will be able to
stealing
do
dead
under
babies.
a Joe Biden
That's what
presidency.
Ivanka is.
Our
All right. I'll
Our
choose
stole a
agenda
dead baby.
includes what this administration has failed to do.
No,
It will
that's
be
him. Look at
about
him.
not only
He's the fly.
instituting a ban
Yeah.
on chokeholds and carotid holes.
There he
but
I'm
is.
just
not
imagining
only-
the music
you,
from
Senator. I
would like to
Scanners
go
but
through-
going
These
through
are
my
points that
head.
you made earlier
Oh,
in
the
the
music
hour,
from
and I want
Scanners
to
is
talk
always
about
going
the
through my
election
head.
Oh,
itself
it
before we
bang.
have
Yeah,
But I
it
want
just
to
kind
talk
of bangs
about
as
the
a sort of
connection
daily
between what
soundtrack
Joe
these
and I will
days.
do and my record, which includes
Come,
I was the
Kamala,
first
rice,
statewide
Kamala.
officer to institute a requirement that my agents would wear body cameras.
I
and
lost
keep them
track
on
of what they were
full-time.
talking
We
about.
were the first.
I think this is
to
the closing
initiate
arguments.
A requirement that there would be a training for law enforcement on implicit bias, because yes, Joe Biden and I
Implicit
recognize
bias,
that
that's the closing
implicit
Oh
argument.
my
bias
God,
does
that's
exist,
yes.
Mr. Vice
Oh
Everybody
President.
gets
yeah,
to take
let's
the
go.
SAT
Let's
every
fucking go.
day.
We did the work.
Let's
of
go.
Everybody gets to
instituting
take a
reforms
bias
that
test
were
every
about
day before you leave the
investing
house.
Oh
in
yes, my name is Johnny. My name is
the work we will do going
my name is
forward.
Johnny
And again,
Racist. I
will
live in
not be
Staten
reckoned
Island, and
by the Vice
I'm
President
taking cultural sensitivity
on
training.
our record of what we have
They
done
say
in
if I
terms
pass
of
my
law
class,
I
enforcement,
can go to
keeping
the
our communities
doctor.
safe, and a commitment to reforming the criminal justice system of America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. And I'd like to pose
Student loan forgiveness for all who can
I'd like
pass
you to respond
a
first to the
sensitivity
question on our
training
final
Hunger
topic,
Games.
the election itself. President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after
Well, here
the
we go.
election.
Let's talk about the
If your
peaceful,
ticket
because it's
wins
very funny to
and
imagine these
President President
guys
Trump
talking
refuses
about
to
like
accept
the
a
coup shit.
peaceful transfer of power, what steps would you and Vice President Biden then take? What would happen next? You have 2 minutes.
So I'll tell you,
Well, we call in the
Joe and I
wolf
are
from the motion picture Pulp
particularly
Fiction.
proud of the coalition that we've built around.
You got 50,000 ballots
We
in
probably
the
have one of the
vacuum.
broadest
Pick a tool.
coalitions of folks that you've ever seen in a presidential race.
You get a
Of course, we
hose,
have
you wash out the
support
voting
of
booths.
Democrats, but also independents and Republicans. In fact, 7 members.
We've got
of,
Democrats over
President
60,
George W.
black
Bush's
people
cabinet
over 60,
supporting our
gays
ticket.
and lesbians over 60.
have
We've
the
got
support
Republicans
of-
over 60.
of
We've got
Colin Powell, Cindy McCain, John Kasich, over 500.
God, kill
She
me.
she looks a little too pleased with herself. So does Biden. I mean, that's just a Democrat thing, right? It's like there's such thing as
And I
Democrat
believe
things.
Listen, we
right?
have
They
have
just look
people.
like-
That Joe Biden
If they should be on the
has a
Hague, we
deep,
got 'em.
deep-seated commitment to fight for
They
our
have to do that because remember, like they're
and to
the
fight for the
super ego party.
integrity
Democrats
of our
get off on
democracy
being
and to bring
superior, so they
integrity
do
back to the
have
White
a
House.
feeling of superiority.
And so
Like, that's
we
where their
believe in the
sexual
American people.
pleasure comes
We
from. As we
believe
were
in
talking about when we were
democracy.
talking about all these
And here's what I'd
liberals
like
who
to say
said
to
don't
everybody.
wish ill on Trump.
Vote.
It's because
Please
not
vote,
wishing
vote
ill
early,
is
come
their
up with a
sexual
plan to vote,
frisson.
go to
Because they're the
It's
most
two
perverted
things.
people on earth.
It's
Joe
two things. It's
Biden.com.
that yes,
We
it's
have
that,
it within
and
our
then the
power in these next
additional
27
like
days
private belief
to
that
make
they're
the decision
wishing
about what
ill
will
things
be
upon
the
people,
course of our
or
country
their
for the
superstition
next
that they're
4
wishing
years.
ill things
And it is
upon
within our
people
power, and if we
actually
use
will
our
make
vote,
it happen.
and we use
And
our
in fact, they were
voice,
being benevolent because wishing that
we
would
will
actually
win.
hurt the person because they
And we will
believe
not
they're
let
basically
anyone
mystics.
subvert our
They're
democracy
basically mystics.
with what Donald Trump
They
has been doing,
believe that
as
they
he did on the
can
debate
do the
stage last
secret
week,
on people
when
if they
again in
aren't
front
good
of
enough
70
liberals,
million
but they're
people,
such good people
he
that they don't
openly
think
attempted to
about
suppress the vote.
they're not going to let themselves
Joe
think
Biden, on
I
the other
wish
hand, on
this
that
would
same
happen to
debate
someone
stage,
because they
clearly
believe they
Donald
can make
Trump
it
doesn't
happen
think he
with
can
their
run on a record
minds.
because it's a failed record. Joe Biden on that stage said, "Hey,
They believe in the secret.
just please vote." So I'll repeat what Joe said. Please vote.
Thank you.
Vote.
Vote.
It doesn't,
Just
we
vote.
have no
Not even
plans
for
to make it
Democrats.
Several
count.
times
We have
refused to
no
commit
way
himself
to deal
to a
with the
peaceful
fact
transfer
that
of
the
power
election
after the
mechanism has
election.
been captured
If
by
Vice
partisan
President Biden is
power
declared the winner and President Trump
corrupted,
refuses to
and there's
accept
no
a
way
peaceful
we can have
transfer
any
of power,
faith in any of
what
the
would be
outcomes of
your
any of
role
our
and
elections. But just do it,
responsibility
because
as
if we
Vice
admitted
President?
that,
What would
that
you
doing it
personally
doesn't mean anything,
do?
well
You
then
have
we
to-
would have nothing to tell you to do.
Well,
So,
Susan, first and
vote,
foremost, I
vote,
think we're going to win this
vote,
election.
vote.
Because while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris rattle off a
I
long
think Qasem
litany of
Soleimani is going to come back from the grave
establishment
and
in Washington,
commit an act
D.C.,
of
and
terror on
establishment
American
Joe
soil
Biden's been
that's
a part of for
going to
47
firm
years.
up our support.
President Donald Trump
He's a zombie.
has launched a
Zombie
movement
Muslims
of
are the
every
most dangerous
American
of
from
them.
every walk of life.
We've been saying it for years.
And,
It's actually
I have
what we
every
ran
confidence
on
that
in
those same
2016.
Americans that
Zombie
delivered that historic
Muslims.
victory in
Not just
2016,
Arabs, the
they
Persians
see this
too.
president's
They'll
record,
come for
where
us.
we rebuild our military.
Must be ready.
We
Must be
revived our
vigilant.
economy through
Go with Christ.
tax cuts and rolling back regulation, fighting for fair trade, unleashing American energy. We appointed conservatives to our federal courts.
I love unleashing American energy.
And we
Oh
stood
my
with the
God!
men and women
I'm
of
making a
Washington
spirit
every
bomb
single
of
day.
American
I think-
energy.
I think that movement of Americans is.
I
only
personally, my
been
favorite thing to do is to unleash American
When you
energy.
talk about accepting the outcome of the
Tonight
Too
we're going to
long has
unleash.
too
We are
long
going
has American
to.
energy
must
been
tell you.
leashed.
I wake up
Too
every
long.
morning.
I'm thinking of what
last 3.5
unleashing
years
American
trying to
energy even
overturn the
means. Like when the
results of the last
McRib
election.
comes out and everybody goes and gets
It's
it.
amazing.
We're unleashing
Joe Biden
American.
is vice
Love it,
president.
McRib right
We
now.
are unleashing American
The
energy and
FBI actually
Kleenex
spied
across
on
the country.
President Trump and my campaign.
We are
I mean,
unleashing.
there were documents released this week that the CIA
We're
actually
preserving
made
our
a referral
energy. It's no
to
no
the
fat
FBI
November. We're keeping our
documenting that
energy
those
inside of
allegations
ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
come from
Our
Hillary
precious
Clinton.
juices.
That's what the election's all
We've
about.
all seen the avalanche, what put the
Orgasmic
country
October
through
goes into no
for
fap
the
November.
better part of 3
President
years.
Trump promises
Until we
$100
found
billion
there was no
to build a
obstruction, no
gigantic
collusion,
orgone
case
accumulator to take all of
And then,
America's
Senator
pent-up
Harris,
sexual.
you and your colleagues in the
Now you have
in
to
Congress
understand.
The October
sex-
surprise is just going to be
United States
premature
over a
ejaculation.
phone call. And now Hillary Clinton has actually said
Se-
to Joe Biden that
sexual
under, in her words,
chakras
under
can
no
be stockpiled.
circumstances should he
In fact,
concede
we're
the
calling
election.
this the sexual
Let me
chakra
just say, I think
gap.
we're going to win this
The
election.
Soviets, I'm sorry, the
President Trump and I are
Russians, we
fighting every
believe,
day in
have
courthouses to
accumulated
prevent
too many
Joe Biden and
sexual
Kamala
chakras,
Harris
and
from
we are
changing
falling
the
behind.
rules and creating this
In fact, you
universal
can
must
buy
come
us
for your
buckets,
country.
buckets of our
Massive
sexual
opportunity for
chakras
voter fraud.
and creamed corn.
We have a
that you
free
can-
and fair
You
election.
can put in your very
You know,
own
we have
compound. You can
confidence
buy
in
it by the bucket,
I
the
believe in all my
chakras.
heart that President Donald Trump's going to be reelected for 4 more years.
I still
You know,
love the buckets video.
I've
the
written all the
buckets video is
questions that I've
so
asked
good.
tonight, but for the
It was a
final question
beautiful
of the debate,
artistic
I'd
moment.
like to write a
Internet.
read a
Final
question to
question.
someone else.
Final question.
The Utah
Why are we
Debate
here?
Commission
If you were a
asked
kind of
students
tree,
in the
what
state
tree would you be?
Why are you
essays about
God
what
discussing?
left
they
Earth because
would
he
like
too
to
is
answer.
afraid of his
And I
creation.
want to
Whoa,
close
what is the
tonight's
question?
debate with the question posed by Brecklin Brown. She's an 8th grader at Springville Junior High in
Well, they're having a child ask the
Here's what she
question.
wrote, quote, "When I watch the news, all I see is arguing between Democrats and Republicans.
Oh,
when
hell
I
yes.
watch the news,
Up, kid.
all I
Idiot.
see is citizen fighting against citizen.
Yes.
When I watch
Exactly,
the
it's
news, all I
politics.
see
Shut
are
up,
two
baby.
candidates from opposing
This
parties
rocks.
trying to
This
tear
is
each
so
other
funny.
down. If our leaders
These
get
people-
along,
these
how
people-
are the citizens supposed to get along? And then she
These
added,
people go to Little
"Your
League games
examples
and they
could
start
make
crying
all the
because it's too
difference."
violent and
Yeah,
hostile.
you can really fucking tell that a USA
So to
Today
each
editor
of you in
moderated
turn,
this
I'd like you to
debate.
take 1 minute and respond.
Everyone
Vice
wants to go
President.
sweepy,
Vice
sweepy.
President.
It's just
Useless
scary out
today,
there.
folks.
Brooklyn, it's a wonderful question.
Remember that
Vice
one.
President, Senator, if you were a baby, how would you
Just
answer
commend
this
you for taking an
question?
interest in public life.
Goo goo gaga.
I
Goo goo
started
gaga.
following the news when I was very
Go
young.
with Christ.
And in America, we believe in a free and open exchange of debate. And we celebrate that. And it's how we've created literally the freest and most prosperous nation in the history of the world.
Literally.
Biggest and most prosperous.
I got
man.
10 bucks.
Absolutely.
I got 10 bucks on him saying cancel culture.
Don't assume that what you're seeing on
Because this is your last chance.
local news networks
10 bucks.
is synonymous with the American people.
I'm going to take this
You know,
chance
I
to do a
look at the
refill before I
relationship
move into the
between
after
Justice
party
Ruth Bader
version of
Ginsburg,
this
the late
thing
Justice
because I think you're going to be talking for a while.
Supreme Court, and the late Justice Antonin Scalia.
Oh,
They
Scalia,
were
pour
on
one out for the
polar
homie.
opposites on
Everyone's
the Supreme Court of
favorite
the United
psychotic
States. One
fascist
very liberal,
Dago.
one very conservative. But what's been learned since her passing was the two of them and their families were the very closest of friends. I mean, here in America, we
They
can
fucking
disagree.
sucked
We
each
can
other
debate
on the
vigorously,
reg.
as Senator Harris and I have.
They would jack each
on
other
the
off
stage
under
tonight.
the robes while hearing
But
cases
when the
in the
debate is over,
Supreme
I
Court.
saw
They
the
know
beginning
there's
of the
an
movie Old School. I
That's what
remember
people
when
do
the
in
man
big
showed up
cities
and
and small
said, "I'm
towns
here
all
for the
across this
gangbang."
country.
In my
So I just
America,
want to
you don't
encourage
have to
everybody. I
ask.
want
It
to
is
tell you
all one gangbang.
We're going to work every day to have government as good as our people. The
Sorry,
American
you
people
won't
each and
stop.
every day. Love a good debate. We love a good argument. But we always come together and are always there for one
Rufus is a
another
king.
in times of need. And we've especially learned
He's
that
great. He's very
Thank you,
chill.
through
Vice
the
President.
difficulties of this year.
Have experience with the old
Senator Harris,
and
what would you
folded
say to Brooklyn?
dog.
Yes, old and folded. That's my
First of all,
specialty.
How you clean them
Young
folds?
leaders, and when I hear her words,
If
and
you
I
just
hear
take
your
like a
words,
wet wipe,
I
like
know
classic-
our future is bright because
They actually have
it is
dog,
that
like dog
perspective
versions
of
of them. but
What
what
kind of
you
name
do
is
you just
Brooklyn? They don't, I don't know
that
Jew's
is
name,
a
Brooklyn.
sign of leadership and is
put it in
something
the
we should all
fold.
aspire to
You
do.
just put it in
But
the
that,
fold.
that brings me to Joe.
Then boom.
Joe Biden.
You only really have to
just
do
dog-
it if there's
One
a
of the
I'm
reasons
just
smell.
dog
that Joe
sitting
decided to
because
run
I didn't think there
for
was
president
because I
is after
I mean
Charlottesville,
I'm
which
dog
we
sitting and I
talked about
didn't think
earlier.
that things collected in the
It
fold
so
that
troubled
quickly.
him and upset him like
Oh,
it
they
did all
can't.
of us. That there
Folds
was
can
that
fill up.
kind of
Apparently,
hate
especially
and
when they're
division.
older, the folds
What
get real
propelled Joe to
full.
run for president
Real
was
quick.
to see that over the course
If you don't
of
have
the
any
last
like
4
an
years,
actual wipe or
what
something like a
Breckman
wet
described has been happening.
wet
Joe has a long-standing reputation
wet
of working
paper towel?
across the aisle. And
wet
working in a
paper towel,
bipartisan
Yeah.
just run it through the ridge,
Okay.
run
and
it
that's
along
what
the
he's
ridge
gonna do
where the
as
fold
president.
is, and you'll get anything out
Joe
of it. all the
Biden
gunk out.
has a history.
I'm just now.
of
We have a question
lifting
from
people up
14-year-old
and fighting
Anton
for their
Chigurh.
dignity.
And he's
I mean, you have
asking
to know Joe's story to know that Joe
if the
has known
rule is
pain,
what brought you to
he has
here.
known suffering,
Of what use was the
and he has
rule?
known love. And so,
I really wish someone would ask that
Brooklyn, when you
question
think about
and then
the
shoot
future,
both of them with a
I do
captain.
Yeah,
believe the
if
future is
John
bright.
Hinckley Jr.
Parody,
Jr.
parody,
It will be
parody.
because of your
Watching
leadership,
this,
and it will be,
yeah,
be
parody, do
because
what we just
we
said,
fight
parody.
for each person's voice through their vote.
Okay, here's my question.
And we get engaged in this election.
We've
because
all just
you have
watched
the ability through
Kamala's
your work and
performance
through
in this election.
eventually your vote
Presumably,
Thank you.
she will be the
determine
front
the
runner
future
for
of our country
not
and
Joe
what its
Biden, but the
leadership looks like.
next president.
Thank you.
I mean,
Senator
I don't
Harris.
think
Thank you,
Biden's
Vice
going to make it
President.
through a
Thank
full
you so
term.
much for being with us
She
tonight.
will be president
We
within
want to thank also
4
the
years, I
University
would
of
say.
Utah for
I-
its
it wouldn't-
hospitality.
I wouldn't- it
She'll
wouldn't-
run
And
as
most
the
of all,
incumbent
our
in
thanks to all
2024
the
would be my
Americans.
So
prediction.
the reason,
who
the
watched
only
this
reason I
debate
doubt that is
tonight.
because, like,
Again, our
we have
best
seen
wishes for a
throughout
quick
the world at
recovery
this
to
moment,
President
like,
Trump,
it is,
the First
it is
Lady,
so
and
easy to
everyone
prop up
who is
like a
battling
regime
COVID.
around like a mentally
second
deficient elder,
presidential
whether it's
debate
Trump or
is
King
next
Salman.
week on
Like,
October
I think that like
a
they'll
town hall style
maintain.
debate in
I think that
Miami.
they'll just
We hope
maintain.
you'll join us then.
Like they'll be able to maintain Joe for at least a term. The question really is going to be about re-election, and
Well, there
that-
it is.
Yes, he couldn't. He could serve. He couldn't run.
yeah, like I don't think that they'll let him campaign. Like I think that his advisors. I mean, although, like I said, you know, it's like stranger things have happened, and the thing that would make Joe run again is not because like Joe Biden would be so committed to having a second term, but it's because all the people in power around him we don't want to lose power by risking like a reshuffling of the deck chairs.
of
Like
course.
that to me is like the
Of
kind
course,
of like
yeah.
like that's the like way to think about it, I guess. If one is to even
No, I
think
agree.
about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can
Well,
you
may I
imagine?
suggest
Well, I guess what
get
I
a
was
little high
asking.
beforehand.
I guess what I was asking is, can you imagine Kamala running as a candidate in 2024? Like on what?
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
100%.
I think what's going to be a sort of interesting question is that like right now, the DNC and like the Democratic establishment does not let whoever is like the Democratic candidate from having like a policy platform or a political agenda that like frankly is like transformational in any meaningful way. Like that's just not on the table right now. But the thing is that like 4 years from now, we're facing like imminent economic collapse, ecological disasters on a scale and of a repetition that we haven't seen before. And so the question is like, all right, what even in the blinkered mind of like fucking like Democrat idiots becomes, possible? Like, what are the kinds of things that they begin to countenance as ideas that they didn't before? And if Kamala Harris is the person who has to be the steward of those ideas, how credibly can she claim them? And frankly, will she even be interested in them? Because it's like, her fucking like campaign manager is like all Ubered up. Like her sister, whose husband, her brother-in-law, is like a lawyer, is Uber's general counsel. I mean,
By the
it's
way,
one way of illustrating corporate connection. I mean, she's somebody who's totally bought in.
When we do, just real quick,